Here we go. And a very good Sunday morning to you, my dear friends. It is, let's see here, the 19th day of the 2019th year, May. Good morning, Grenada, and welcome to today's edition of Sundays with George Grant. I am he, and thank you very much for joining us on this beautiful Sunday morning. I say this beautiful Sunday morning tongue-in-cheek, and I'll tell you why. Here's what I mean by that. This morning, I got up and I took a look outside. Oh, what a beautiful morning. And I said, this morning I'm going to do something just a little bit different. I'm going to go out on the balcony and take a really nice snapshot of the view from up here on Woolwich Road. I wanted to share this with you just in case in some parts of the world you guys are experiencing rain or, well, I think the snow is just about gone by now. So I thought, wow, this is beautiful. But tell you what, I'm also going to go have something to eat before I take the picture. All right? That way, the picture would be more current than if I had taken it at about, 6:30, 7 o'clock this morning. Went to have something to eat. When I went back to the balcony, it was all clouded over like you wouldn't believe. And I thought, oh my gosh. Well, that plan's not going to materialize. All right. Well, guess what? A few minutes ago, took a look outside, and it was just simply pristine. Beautiful, beautiful sunny skies. But by then, it was too late to take that picture and program it into the system so that I could share that with you this morning. Terribly sorry about that. But hey, from time to time, we're going to keep showing you these glorious pictures of the beauty of this little island of ours. Let us, pilgrims, be thankful. Let's see here. Hey, they are already alive and well this morning. Mags is there. Mags. Mags, you are priceless, girl. I keep telling you that. You are priceless. We'll just leave it at that. Anyhow, she's wishing you guys a happy Sunday. Chester is saying good morning from Switzerland. Chester, you're playing hard to get or what? I've been trying to reach you out there in Zurich. No luck. Gonna keep trying because I know that you're there. I'm seeing you up here on Facebook already this morning. And Dennis Perkins says, good morning, George and class. It's a bit dull here in London. Yeah, Dennis, I think I know the feeling. But right now, kind of enclosed here, so I'm not able to see what's going on at the moment. But a few minutes ago when I took a look outside, it was just absolutely gorgeous. Kipling is sending God's blessings to everybody. Shireen Thomas is there. Jackie O, hello, Jackie O. And Lewis Krishock? The Lewis Krishock? Hello, Lewis. We're honored to have you in the audience this morning. Thank you so much. Thank you for joining us. Good to see you. Come on back and visit. I think that's it so far on FB this morning. Let's take a look at the rundown. It's time zipping right along here. It's already 6 minutes after 9 o'clock. Well, folks, I hope you can make it through the next 3 hours. Would be a delight to have you with us. Got some good stuff. Sad to say, though, we're not going to be able to bring you the Grenada Advocate this morning. However, as far as editorials are concerned, we do have the new today, which is a sort of two-parter. You'll hear what I mean when I read that for you. And they are captioned, Flow That's our internet, one of our internet providers. Flo is on the line. Hang on, you'll find out what that's about in just a wee bit. Now, it's going to be one heck of a busy morning in here this morning. The chairs are all lined up and ready to go. As far as interviews are concerned, one of my favorites every year, we're going to be talking about the upcoming Grenada Chocolate Festival. Now, if you saw the rundown we had on the GrenadaBroadcast.com website yesterday, it said that we would have Magda Fielden. Now, Magda has been with us time and time again. Every year she comes in here at about this time. This is the lady who organizes the chocolate festival. She and her husband run the True Blue Bay Boutique Resort. That's down in True Blue. Well, I understand, I was informed yesterday afternoon that apparently Magda had an accident. I think she fell, we'll find out the details, but I think she fell, broke her ankle, and she has been hospitalized, okay? So sorry to hear that, Magda. Hope you're going to be okay, my girl. Hope you're going to be okay. We're going to miss her. But, hold on. Her daughter, whom, as far as I can recall, has never appeared on this program, but she is going to be in here this morning representing her mom. Her name is Renatta Fielden. Okay? So Renatta should be in here 35 minutes or so. She should be here because I think she's going to be our first guest this morning. Then, take a deep breath, George. I think it was one night this past week, I was watching one of our television networks here in Grenada, and I turned on just at the end of a program called Beyond the Headlines. So yeah, I was late. I just got the very tail end of it. And I saw that one of the two guests was a superintendent of police. And he was talking about noise. And I heard some remarks which made me go, whoo, whoo, whoo. Because I had been so deeply involved in the anti-noise issue years ago. You guys might remember that. We had an organization called Citizens Against Noise. And our quest was to curb the noise problem in this country. Pilgrims, we spent 5 years putting together legislation. And as far as I see, the noise is only just getting worse. So I thought, let me make a call the next day and invite the superintendent to come chat with us. And I was so delighted. I was able to speak to him, extended the invitation like that. He agreed to join us this morning. I'm speaking about Superintendent Vennie Curwen. He's a superintendent of police with the RGPF. So Superintendent, well, I imagine he's probably on his way. We're looking forward to welcoming you. I don't think we've, I could be wrong, Scatterbrain here doesn't have the best photographic memory in the world, but I don't think he's been with us before. But we're going to be talking about the noise situation this morning, all right? Superintendent Vennie Curwen. So, those are the interviews. Now, we then move on to our features. Pilgrims, A couple of weeks ago, I had a young lady on this program. I extended the invitation to her. She's the mother of two young children with disabilities. I happened to have been scanning through Facebook at some point, saw this lady sort of making a passionate plea, if you will, for something to be done about the services being provided to people in this country with disabilities. It was not the first time I had heard that sort of plea. So I thought, Georgie Porgy, with his soft heart, decided, let me invite this young lady to tell her story. So I did, and she came. She was not only here, but she was joined by Citizen John Rollo. So, she opened up and vented, and I mean vented, all right? I felt really sad about what I'd been hearing. A couple of days later, I received a message on Facebook from a friend of mine who said to me, George, that lady you had on the program talking about disabilities may not have been telling the truth. And I went, say what? So I thought, let me speak to, he mentioned the names of, or the name of somebody I should speak to. I think it was the principal of the school for persons with, the school for special education. Talked to her, and the lady said to me, yes, Mr. Grant, much of what you heard was not true. Threw me for a loop. So she said to me, you should also speak to the person who is the special education officer. And I did. And folks, it broke my heart. And I figured, look, since I gave this lady time to vent, I gave them, almost an hour. Why don't I get these people from the School of Special Education and School for Special Education and the Ministry of Education on here? So they said, well, yes, we would like to come and talk about this. But we're civil servants, public servants, and we have to get permission. Took a few days to get that permission. I was hoping to have them on here last Sunday, but that did not materialize. However, this morning, they're coming in here to sit and chat with me and tell the other side of this troubling story, which, by the way, is what that segment is captioned. The other side of the troubling story. Coming in here this morning, Jennelyn St. John, who's the Special Education Officer. She works with the Ministry of Education. And she's going to be joined by Patti Williams, who is the principal of the School for Special Education. Okay? They're coming in here this morning. I guess they're going to be telling us a different side of the story. So, that's where we stand. Boy, I don't know. I can't wait to get all the details, but you and I are going to get it simultaneously. So that's the first of our two features this morning. The next one, he says, with a smile on his face, The Grenada Cooperative Bank continues to grow. Just this past week, they held a press conference to announce how well the bank is doing. And I thought, not only did they talk about how well the bank is doing, but that press conference also revealed a lot of advice, which I thought, hey, maybe our listeners would be helped in their banking activities if they heard what these guys are suggesting. They're making recommendations as to how you can grow your moolah a little bit. They also addressed the issue about what has been described all over the place as the exorbitant bank charges that we're facing. I had a situation just recently. Look, I have no difficulty with banks putting charges on. Despite the fact that our taxes are going up, our airfares are going up. Why not the banks? Okay, I have no difficulty with them charging. A few weeks ago, we were talking on this program, and I think the Good Day Grenada program as well. Somebody was complaining that he took a check to a certain bank here in Grenada. The check was from another bank, and I think they were charging him, I think it was $1.50 or whatever, because the check came from another bank. To handle that transaction, they were actually putting a charge on. And by the way, he was he was there to deposit that check in their bank. Okay, but there was a charge, and I thought, that's kind of weird. There's got to be some real logical reason why that is happening. Well, I had my own challenge just a couple of weeks ago. I think it was last summer. I opened up an account with a bank here in St. George. Georgie ain't have money, you know that, right? But I opened up an account. And it was for a nonprofit organization called Civic Grenada. All right? And I was, and to a large extent, I'm still absolutely pleased with the service I get from that bank. They were sending me statements, these printed statements every month. Then I think it was in January and March, I did not receive statements. No problem, the bank is there. Ask them for the statements. I got the statements promptly. Each one was 2 pages long. Okay? But where I fell off my chair was when I was told that I had to pay, it's either $40 or $42 for each statement. You heard me? So for the 2 statements, either $80 or $84. It's for a nonprofit corporation, okay? And I went, holy moly. And then somebody reminded me that, yes, there are charges for statements. Ironically, another bank, I needed to get some statements from another bank, and I went to them, and they promptly, there you go, Mr. Grant. No charge. And I thought, hey, what's going on here? What's going on here? Well, at the recent press conference by the Grenada Cooperative Bank, Mr. Richard Duncan, who's the managing director, he he was very articulate in explaining why the bank charges. And like I said, I understand charges. It's just the amount that throws me for a loop for statements and pilgrims. The statement, I don't know, up to now, I don't know why those two statements never arrived. Could be the post office messed up. I'm not blaming the post office because I don't know. Okay? But it could be. Could be that the computer process, the computerized process, which the banks use to send out these statements, and yes, computers do screw up. Okay? They make mistakes. So the bottom line is I still don't know why I didn't receive those statements. What I do know is that I'm in the hole for $80 because I did not receive my statements. All right. Well, the press conference you're going to hear this morning, I think it only runs about 20, 23 minutes, 24 minutes, whatever. You're going to hear the chairman of the Grenada Cooperative Bank, Mr. Darryl Brathwaite. And he's the person who's going to give the figures, facts and figures about Co-op's great success. And I salute them because I'll tell you, boy, you know, when you come across an agency like that, an institution, when you hear that they're doing well, you can't help but be happy because these guys also do a hell of a lot for the community. Most recently, you heard about the annual Pump It Up Fun Walk. Yeah, man. These are the guys who organize that stuff, and it seems to be getting bigger and bigger every year. And the Fun Walk is only one of the things these folks do for communities. Another thing they do, hey, the fact that you're sitting there right now watching me and listening is because they're one of the very few companies in this town that will actually spend a penny to make this program possible for you. Co-op Bank, I salute you. So we're going to play that press conference for you this morning, okay? Woo! Busy morning here. Let me see what's going on very quickly here on social media so far this morning. Woo! We've already said morning to Lou. Dennis says, send some here. I guess he's talking about the weather. Manelli to St. Green. Haven't seen that name before. Welcome, Manelli. Good to see you. Jackie O is saying hi from Alexandria, Virginia. The calm after the late night storms. Oh, you had some tough weather up there, eh? Mickaman Alexander is saying, hey, everybody, have a great day. Peter Bishop saying, good morning from Long Island. Looking forward to another informative program of SWGG. I'm looking forward to the rebuttal from the officials from the Ministry of Education. Thank you so much, Pedro, for drawing that to my attention. Disturbing. I know that a lot of institutions here in Grenada are really not up to snuff, okay? But you know what? Some of them, yeah, they deserve, but there are others, Pedro, who, with very limited resources, and when I talk about resources, I'm not just talking money, I'm talking about knowledge as well. They're trying their darndest. And then when people go out there and not necessarily, I'm trying to choose my words here, not necessarily telling the truth, kind of breaks my heart. That's why I want these folks come in here and talk to you guys one-on-one this morning. Lincoln Roberts is saying, have a blessed day, everyone. He's saying good morning to all of God's children and sending much love. Lydia James saying good morning. Anthony DeRigg saying good morning, everyone. Now, I see a new day. It's not by chance. The Creator wants us here. Share the life, folks. Thank you, Anthony. Benedict Cador saying, what's happening, man? Fitzroy Adams says, let's join hands and give praise to see another Sunday. Yeah, man. Ryan Jaban says it's a gloriously sunny Florida morning. Well, good for you. I think we have one here now, too. Jackie O says, I might be late for church. This program is going to be good today. Looking forward to the follow-up from the Ministry of Education. Aren't we all? Glenn Andrew Mark is saying a happy Sunday to all of us. Ernesto Jose is saying, good morning, Principal G and Pilgrims. Welcome to Education Sunday. And I'm here. Good to have you. Ryan Jaban says, strike while the iron is hot. Not sure. Boy, I've said so much this morning, I'm not sure exactly which one you're referring to. Sherdine Thomas says, it would have been nice to have been invited to face these people and hear what lies they have told. Ms. Thomas, if I were you, I wouldn't go there. We gave you your chance 2 Sundays ago. Okay? Benedict Cador says, do the banks in Grenada offer e-statements? Jackie O says, no wonder why people still does keep their money under their mattress. No fees, no conflicts. Ann Thomas is checking in from Brooklyn. Let's see here. Hold on a minute. Claude Putner is saying good morning to you folks. Ernesto Jose, Mr. G, I'm heartbroken to be hearing the story of this lady may not be true after you went off your way to just give her and everyone a platform to tell their stories. And we'll come. I'm sorry, Ernesto, please. You see, there I go, reaching out. I want your voices to be heard. But please, folks, think about what you're saying before you waste my time trying to read stuff here. It doesn't make sense. I'm trying, but I need your help. Take your time, think about what you say, and say it. Moving right along, Bernard Gilbert saying good morning, Esther Morgan saying good morning. Yeah, okay. All right, folks. Georgie's going to take his first little break here now, and he's going to come right back with today's edition of The Buzz.
Juve chocolates, cocoa nibs, and cocoa balls from Diamond Estate Grenada are now available at Amazon.com, Amazon.ca, Amazon.co.uk, and GrenadaMarket.com. Try the sensational touch of nutmeg and a touch of ginger chocolates, 75% dark and rich, 100% pure cocoa, and their 60% dark and sweet chocolate bars today. Amazon Prime members enjoy free shipping on these orders in the USA, Canada, and Europe. GrenadaMarket.com. When you can't come to the island, the products of the island will come to you.
My name is Jennifer James, and I've been making confectionaries for the past 7 years. Growing up as a little girl, I always wanted to make these little things. Forge, sugar cake, tamarind ball, these little things. I read something actually, and it said that tamarind itself is very good because it eliminates fat from the liver. You get the mature tamarind and you crack it, you shell it out. I would add a little baking soda, some spices, I would leave it to rest probably for about 2 hours and then add my sugar and just start kneading. I usually knead it hard enough so that I can roll it. When I finish roll it, I will paste it with the actual white or brown sugar. And you have a nice tamarind ball. I have been providing food fare with tamarind ball about 6 years now. I started producing tamarind ball to sell for the school children. I thought I could advance somewhere. So I went to food fair and I asked one of the sales persons there if they would be interested in selling my tamarind ball. And she told me yes. She told me to bring 20 packets to start with. It was really a joy for me because I wanted to extend on my little business. My name is Jennifer James and I work with the food fair to provide you with tamarind balls.
I'm always on the move. Training, traveling, competing.
A commemorative postage stamp.
So it's good to know I have Co-op Bank in the palm of my hand.
Introducing e-banking, one of many customer convenience services from Grenada Co-Operative Bank, and there's more to come.
It's swift, simple, and secure.
Welcome home.
All right. Yes, my dear friends, it's 26 minutes away from 10 o'clock on this Sunday morning. Let's see here. What's going on? What's going on here? I just noticed here that the feed on Grenada Broadcast seems to have gone downhill. Yeah, we're up there on Facebook, but the feed on Grenada Broadcast has gone downhill. So, folks, what I do suggest is that you let's see here. If you were on Grenada or are on Grenada Broadcast, you may want to switch over to Facebook. Okay, I've also just received a note here from Ian Blakey. By the way, Colin Silkey, good morning to you. So Ian Blakey says, George, could you publicize this? Thanks. My car has been stolen. Black Daihatsu Terios, license plate number PAA124, was parked, locked, at home in Woburn, well off the main road. It was there at 11 o'clock on Saturday night. Please share and snoop. Thanks again. And by the way, he gives his phone number, which just happens to be 537-9174. All right? So, there you have it, folks. If anybody sees that license plate PAA 124, would you please contact Ian Blakey? All right? Folks, here comes your buzz for this week. We begin with an opening scripture. I am writing to you, dear children, because your sins have been forgiven on account of his name. I am writing to you, fathers, because you know him who was from the beginning. I am writing to you, young men, because you have overcome the evil one. I write to you, dear children, because you know the Father. I write to you, fathers, because you know him who was from the beginning. I write to you, young men, because you are strong, and the word of God lives in you, and you have overcome the evil one. Do not love the world or anything in the world. If anyone loves the world, love for the Father is not in them. For everything in the world, the lust of the flesh, the lust of the eyes, and the pride of life comes not from the Father, but from the world. The world and its desires pass away, but whoever does the will of God lives forever. That reading, pilgrims, from the first book of John, chapter 2, verses 12 to 17. Let's quickly, trying to keep things rolling here, let's move quickly into this week's contribution from Little Angel. She's talking about corruption here. She says, there's absolutely no shortage of information, news items, articles, and releases on the topic of corruption and corrupted practices on the internet. Latest online news, such as St. Kitts Nevis CBI corruption, attracts attention of U.S. State Department. That was issued on March 25th, 2019. Malaysia's former PM, Najib, on trial in the first of multiple corruption cases. That was issued on April 3rd, 2019. And as recently as May 18th, 2019, BBC's top story, Austria Chancellor calls for snap election after corruption scandals, are only three of many confirmations of a more well-established, growing, and endemic worldwide corruption problem. The frequency of these stories demonstrates how widespread corruption is, even though it is the work of only a minority rather than the majority of the people in the world. If leaders who are few in numbers are corrupted, what should be expected of the greater number of people who may not be, but yet suffer the negative consequences of such corrupted practices? And will these greater numbers ever exercise greater power when it comes to getting rid of corruption? Corruption violates human rights and goes hand in hand with bribery. In order for bribery to take place, a bribe has to be given by someone and received by another, which can only be facilitated by corruption. Bribery, favoritism, nepotism, and abuse of power are evidence of corruption. Human beings by nature are corrupted and easily fall prey to corrupt practices because of greed and selfishness. Individuals who are described as being corrupt are often considered unethical and having no integrity. Corruption has also been found to be a part of the human psyche, and as a result, it will take much more than ordinary efforts for human beings to avoid corrupted practices, and for the world to rid itself of this human-imposed and unabated practice. That, pilgrims, is Little Angel's contribution this week. All right. Now, 20 minutes to the hour. I'll tell you what, take a quick break here, and then I'm going to come back. Ryan says, corruption is rampant on the internet. Someone was posing as my graduate university, trying to force alumni into an expensive yearly subscription to get transcripts. Okay. I see that my first guest, has arrived. But before we get to her, I'm going to invite her to come on in and have a seat. And before we get to her, we are going to take a quick little break here. And we'll come back with the editorial from the New Today right after this. Hang in there.
Boy, they gonna fly with kite now. The wind picking up. I'm coming. Karim, what you doing? Fly my kite. Yeah, but not here. You can't fly kite near power lines, boy. Why not? The wind good. Because mommy say, kite threads conduct electricity.
Yeah, kite. He's right.
If your kite gets stuck in power lines, you can cause power outages, or even worse, it can get shocked. Go, let go and fly them in the pasture. Yeah, that makes sense. Kite threads conduct electricity. Do not fly kites near overhead power lines. This can lead to electric shocks and power outages. If your kite gets stuck in power lines, do not try to retrieve it. Release it and call Grenada. Always fly kites in open areas. Keep your kites far away from roads. And remember, always clean up after yourself.
Grenada, energizing our Grenada.
Grenadian General Insurance Company, strength and stability. Grenadian General Insurance Company, tell your friends, tell your family. We cover householders, comprehensive,
try to retrieve.
motor and even fire too. Contractors all risk burglary, public liability, professional indemnity, directors liability, and wait, we still have more. Come and find out more what you're waiting for.
We are located on Scott Street, St. George's. For more information, call 440-2434.
Tell everybody.
On the line. Telecommunications provider Flow has been put on the line by its country manager, James Pitt, and commercial manager, Lincoln Batiste, who sought to give assurances this week that customers can expect better and faster internet speed as a result of a $15 million injection of funds to provide a better platform. The New Today is aware that just about every internet user on the island has a complaint with the service provided by Flow, following the takeover of the company by what was previously known as Lime/Cable and Wireless. There are many internet users in Grenada who regret the day that Lime was able to lay its hands on Flow, since the service immediately started to go downhill for whatever reasons. The takeover came at a time when many Lime customers who were dissatisfied with the service were changing network provider and moving over to the Flow platform, which was generally considered as the much better of the two providers. It was not uncommon for Lime customers to complain that the service will hang on them in the middle of transmission of a file, which left many of them frustrated and cussing and swearing on a daily basis. No adequate and reasonable explanation was ever given by Lime to the many angry and dissatisfied customers for the very poor internet and also landline services that were being experienced. The suspicion of many persons is that Lime was trying to find a way to save money by seeking to integrate in whatever way technologically possible its old and outdated platform with that which was superior from Flow than that it had now inherited. The company, through its country manager, Mr. Pitt, and commercial manager, met with the local press to seek to reassure the critics that the invested millions would ensure that Grenada is now being put on par with many other countries around the world. The two will be held to their words, as gone are the days when Lime can fool an unsuspecting people with old talk about what might be responsible for a hitch in the service. There are many technological gadgets available, even on cell phones, that can allow persons to sit in the comfort of their private homes and monitor and evaluate for themselves the speed, or lack thereof, that is provided by the internet provider. Lime, as a provider of broadband internet, has a lot to make up for with its customers, since it has a serious deficit where value for money is concerned. Many of its customers feel robbed by not getting a reduction in their monthly bills when they are out of service through no fault of theirs, but due to some glitch on the part of the service provider. On another note, the New Today would also like to join the many persons and organizations around the world in paying tribute to the late Harold Hoyt, one of the most outstanding personalities in the regional media landscape, who died last weekend in Barbados. The accolades have been numerous from all over the world for Mr. Hoyt, who has left an indelible mark on the noble profession known as journalism, especially within the fraternity in the Caribbean. There is a whole generation of Grenadians who are either too young or lack the knowledge to know that Mr. Hoyt would have impacted their lives through what is now a more free and independent media operating on the island. It was the likes of Mr. Harold Hoyt in Barbados, Ken Gordon in Trinidad and Tobago, and the late Lester Spaulding with the Jamaica Gleaner, who stood up against the 1979-1983 People's Revolutionary Government of late Prime Minister Maurice Bishop and his deputy, Bernard Cord, in those dark days when the order of the day was to snuff out a free and independent media in the name of forward march against imperialism. Hoyt and the other media magnates in the region would have felt a sense of betrayal from the revolutionary leaders of the day, as their media houses, like the Barbados Nation, the Express newspaper, and Jamaica Gleaner, were used to highlight the atrocities of the Eric Gary government. During the 4.5 years of revolutionary rule in the Spice Isle, the PRG had outdone Gary in curtailment of press freedom and human rights abuses, to give a slap in the face to all those media houses that gave support to the anti-Gary struggle. It was the same Hoyt and the others who came to the assistance of Grenadians by taking on the Bishop-led government and exposing their atrocities to the wider world. Today, the Grenadian Voice newspaper is testimony to the work of the late Hoyt and Ken Gordon of the Express newspaper for its rebirth following the collapse of the Grenada Revolution. The two were able to put the resources in terms of expertise to help the Grenadian Voice to start publishing once again after its editor, Leslie Pear, was freed from prison following the October 25, 1983 U.S.-led military action in Grenada to topple the group of ultra-leftist Marxists who seized power in the bloody internal coup within the then ruling New Jewel movement. It is ironic that the week of Hoyt's death, that some of the remnants of the Grenada Revolution are meeting to hold activities to mark the 40th anniversary of the demise of their process in the Spice Isle. The New Today is conscious to the fact that the name Harold Hoyt will be on the pages of any media manuscript that is written in the modern Caribbean, given the role that he played not only in Barbados, but the entire Western Hemisphere. It is fitting that Barbados's Prime Minister, Mia Mottley, has offered an official funeral for Hoyt, a well-deserved gesture by her Barbados Labour Party government. Hoyt has left us as one who has done something wonderful for humanity. Pilgrims, there you have it. That's the editorial which appeared in Friday's edition of the New Today. Break time, and Georgie Porgy's going to come right back with his guest. Let me take a look. See that person sitting there with that smile? There she goes. That's Renatta, and she's going to be talking with us right after the break.
Together with you, our customers, we energize our community.
Together with you, we energize our economy.
We are working together to give our nation a better tomorrow.
With you, we energize our future. Together, we energize our nation.
Thank you for partnering with us as we energize our Spice Island.
Grenlec, energizing our Grenada.
Grenadian General Insurance Company, strength and stability. Grenadian General Insurance Company, tell your friends, tell your family. We cover householders comprehensive, motor and even fire too. Contractors all risk burglary, public liability, professional indemnity, directors liability, and wait, we still have more. Come and find out more what you're waiting for.
We are located on Scott Street, St. George's. For more information, call 440-2434.
Tell everybody.
Alrighty, folks, time to say good morning to Renatta. Good morning, Miss Fielden, and how are you? I'm pretty good, and welcome. It's your first time on this program, eh?
It is.
Yeah? Mom and Dad have been here umpteen times.
Yes.
Listen, you're here because I understand your mom was supposed to be here this morning.
Yeah, she was.
And I heard yesterday that she had a little accident
Yeah,
and she's
she
in
did.
hospital.
Yeah, she's unable to make it. She's in the hospital in recovery, but she will be up and around for the festival this year, the chocolate festival.
Good news.
Yeah.
She's been working hard on that, eh?
Yeah, this is the 6th year that it's happening, so it's the our 6th festival since started in 2014. And every year it's just grown bigger and bigger, and she's added more events onto it, discovered new amazing people to come and do little activities with everyone, and everything is based on chocolate or cocoa, and she just expanded it a lot, which is amazing.
This thing has really taken off, and I see that it's also become like a permanent fixture in the pure Grenada brand now.
Well, that's what we were trying to do. We were trying to bring awareness to Grenada through chocolate, so it kind of benefits the farmers and the chocolatiers and encourages them to keep doing what they're doing and keep the good work up, and also bring those who are interested in chocolate to the island, because Grenada's chocolate is ethically grown and organically grown, and it's a huge, some people might say it's the center of the tree to bar movement that's going on in the world. So that's what we're really trying to bring awareness to with this festival.
Speak to me about this tree to bar movement, because it's something you're hearing more and more about.
Well, throughout the world, there's loads of different, chocolate industries that's going on, and really the tree to bar is just how you can get the pod going from the tree to the chocolate bar, and just explain how simple and natural that process can actually be. Around the world, people want to know, where their chocolate is coming from, how organic is it, how ethical is it. And when you have that tree to bar explanation behind it, it kind of shows you exactly where your chocolate is coming from, how the cocoa develops, how it's fermented, it's grinded, and then how they add in like little different this and that to the chocolate to make it special, like the salt, or how the Grenada Chocolate Company has their salted. The Belmont Estate does like spices and in some of their chocolates, and everyone has their own special one. The Tri-Island has honey because they also have a bee farm with their chocolate.
There is a lot of talk nowadays about organic, not just organic chocolate, organic this, organic that, and is that helping the industry big time?
Yeah, I believe so. I mean, there's a lot of talk about organic, but in Grenada, what the festival kind of shows is why and how it's organic and shows you what organic really looks like. Because a lot of these other companies might say they are organic, but you don't really know what goes behind the process, especially if it's a huge cocoa farm. But in Grenada, we have these really nice farms that you can go and you can look around, and the chocolatiers and the estate owners, they love to like show you the process, and they all have their different processes and explanations, the different machinery they use and all. It's very interesting. Like, you might think that going to each one of these farms might get repetitive, but they're all so different, and it's very interesting to go to all the different ones and see how they each like tailor their process to the types of chocolate bar that they would like to make.
You know, I have never seen chocolate more popular in my life than it has been in recent years. And I guess a lot of that has to do with the festival. And also a gentleman by the name of Mott Green.
Yes,
You
Mott
knew Mott?
Green. Yes.
Yeah.
I did meet him a couple times. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to really get to know him before he passed. But he is basically the reason that this festival is happening, because after he passed, my mom kind of wanted to keep the chocolate industry going and honor him at the same time. So she started the festival as kind of a way to honor him. And when we started, the Grenada Chocolate Company was the only chocolate company really prominent on the island. And since then, we have a total of 5 now. So that's Grenada Chocolate Company, the Crayfish Bay Estate, the Belmont Estate started their own, then the Tri-Island Estate, and the Juve Chocolate from the Diamond Estate. So, and I'm sure like we might see more pop up over the years, because it's just taking off so much, and everyone realizes how good quality Grenadian chocolate actually is.
Yeah, it sure is. I was about to say that, you know, I grew up here. And sure, as kids, you ate a little chocolate here, a little there, and your mom and dad went, don't you dare. Yeah. But now you're hearing an awful lot of it, and like we both agree, it has a lot to do with people like your mom and Mott. Let's get into the actual festival. Let's talk a little bit about, you know, what's going to take place, because it's over a period of time, right?
Yes, it's from the 31st of May to the 8th of June, so it's a total of 9 days, I believe. And throughout the 9 days, we have various activities, more than one going on every single day. We have 4 estate visits. Those are to the Grenada Chocolate Company Estate, the Belmont Estate, the Crayfish Bay Estate, and the Tri-Island Estate. So we have 4 days that are basically kind of dedicated to those estates. We also have, we're also visiting the Diamond Estate through the hash. So because it's on a Saturday, they're going to hash through the Diamond Estate, and then the estate will like do a little chocolate demonstration to those who are interested afterwards, and maybe like have some samples and some teas, or, you know, something just to make it interesting. And then, so we do an estate visit, and then we have like a break day where you do like kind of less active activities.
Drink a lot of water.
Yeah, definitely. We would, if anyone is interested in going to those estates, we would recommend bringing lots of water, long pants, hats, mosquito spray definitely, or bug spray. But basically, we will plan everything for you. If you wanted transport, we would transport you there. Lunch is provided, and the cost of all of the day visits to the different estates. And it's all chocolate themed. So whatever you get, it will be Grenada base and chocolate themed as well. So it's just a whole week of eating chocolate, basically.
And by the way, you guys have a great website. Let me ask you this. In the early days when I ate chocolate, I ate Cadbury, which I'm now finding out is just a lot of milk and sugar.
Yes.
Okay. Nowadays, we've got more of our local chocolates here. Some of them have a slightly bitter taste. Which is your favorite? Are you still milk and sugar, or?
No, I can't eat them anymore. When I was younger, I could never eat the Grenada chocolate because I thought it was so bitter. But since my mom has started this and I've been exposed to dark chocolates, I can't go back to the milk chocolates because
Really?
they're just so good, and it's so much easier to eat it, and you can taste all the different flavors if you do it properly. And during the festival, we're going to do a couple chocolate tasting at the different locations. So we'll have one at Silver Sands where we'll do a rum and chocolate pairing, and we also have a mini chocolate salon where a bunch of chocolatiers will bring their chocolates and kind of taste it and give their feedback on what they think about it and what flavors they can detect. And with dark chocolate, you can detect so much more flavors in just a small piece of it than you could when it's covered in milk and sugar. And that's what I love about it, because you can find so many different bars that are just so different, and you can put two ingredients together that you'd never thought would work, but it does. And I just think that's what's crazy about chocolate. It's amazing. You can make it sweet, bitter, you could put it with anything and it would just taste great.
You sound like a real connoisseur of chocolates.
It's because of my mom. She's exposed
Sure,
me and my
blame it
sister
on
to
your
this.
mom. Blame it on your
Yeah.
mom. Yeah.
But she just introduced this to the family, and who knew that it was such a complex food item that you could do so much with. And we've all just really learned about the benefits and how actually amazing the Grenadian chocolate and the Grenadian cocoa pods are in the world.
Do you know, in the days when I used to eat a lot of chocolates, it was just because, kids like sweet stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I understand now that there are nutritional benefits.
There are. I think some of them are they can lower your cholesterol. Like they say, having a little bit of chocolate every day is just good for your general health, because it's like a superfood, but I mean, maybe not as super as some of the others, but you would think that chocolate is unhealthy, but really it's not that bad. It's pretty good, actually. So if you have half a bar a day, dark chocolate, they say over 70% is what you need to aim for it to have its nutritional and healthy benefits for it.
Hold on a sec here. I'm being told by some people who are on Facebook, they want to know why the program keeps interrupting. Jorge Murillo, yippies. Thanks for drawing that to attention. Yeah, we are. I know that we are on Facebook. And just in case you keep getting kicked off Facebook, a number of people said that they were being kicked off Facebook a little while ago. Just in case that is happening, remember, later on this afternoon, the program is going to be up. Well, shortly after it ends, it's going to be on Facebook. But later on, it's going to be on YouTube as well. Okay? So please. All right. Renatta, I have to tell you something. This past week, a friend invited me to a place called the House of Chocolate. You ever heard of that place?
Of course.
And I said, where is that? She says, it's on Yonge Street. And I said, geez, I never knew that. How long has it been there? She says, probably about a year.
Longer. It's been there. It opened at the end of 2015. God. Yep. So this will be, the end of this year will be 5 years, I think.
5 years?
4 years. 4 years.
My.
Yeah.
Shows you how much or how little I pass along Yonge Street.
So it is where the Tikal boutique used to be.
Well, I went down this week. And I sat there. Now, I'm diabetic, and therefore I ought to watch what I eat, okay? I had your cheesecake.
Did you enjoy it?
Of course I did. And it took a lot of self-control to not have another slice.
Else.
Well, hold on. I did have it's not a bun. It's like a cake. Don't remember what it is. But anyhow, it's a sort of pastry. And that too was wonderful. And then something I had not had in years. Your cocoa tea with coconut milk.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah.
So rich. Yeah. It's amazing. So we'll actually be stopping at the House of Chocolate for the Chocolate Festival on the same day that we're going to visit the Mock Green estate, well, the Grenada Chocolate Company. And then we'll be having a quick stop at the House of Chocolate for little bonbons, desserts, and a cocoa tea demonstration. So if you'd like to come for that, since you're a big fan of cocoa tea.
Let's talk about the House of Chocolate, because it's not just a place where you go get cheesecake and cakes and ice cream.
No, it's not.
I hear you have ice cream too.
We do. We have lots of ice cream. Many different flavors.
What's for lunch, George? No, let's talk about some of the features of that place.
Yeah, so it's actually a chocolate museum. It demonstrates the whole process of the tree to bar process as well, and it gives a little history on how chocolate came to Grenada, dating all the way back to slavery until now. And then we have lots of little chocolate souvenirs. We have cocoa paintings, cocoa clothing. We have shirts like these ones that say
chocolate is all I need.
Yeah. We have, everything that you could think that you could possibly have for chocolate jewelry, chocolate foods, not besides the chocolate bar. We have chocolate handbags, chocolate everything. So what my mom does is she tries to get all the different people in Grenada who can create crafts and just make a cocoa-based craft. Mm-hmm. And then we'll buy it and sell it in the store. And it kind of supports the local community of craft makers and artists and everything.
And for visitors who gobble up chocolate all their lives but have never seen a chocolate bean, you guys actually have those beans
inside the store. Yeah, you can actually go and step on them like they do on the estates. It's just a small little tray, because you obviously can't have one of those huge ones, even though we would love to. Yeah. You can go and step on the cocoa, because that's one of the processes they do to help turn over the beans when they're creating the chocolate bar, to dry out the beans. So yeah, we have those. We have the grinder that you can grind the cocoa beans, and
that. I was just going to say, you didn't mention that, but this really, really caught my attention, because as a child, I remembered having to stand there, put the beans in, and
grind it.
Yeah, you have one of those.
Yeah, it's all part of the process of making the chocolate. So you have to grind it so it kind of makes into this paste, and then you start adding the other ingredients into it.
And your mom's the person behind this whole thing.
Yes, she is. She's done a lot of research into it. She's very passionate about it.
Tell me about that.
It must be her Mexican heritage, because the Mayans who used to live in Mexico, they used to trade with cocoa beans. So I think it's in her DNA.
Probably. Magda, are you listening? And by the way, just in case she's not listening now, let her know when you get back home that she can check it out later on.
All right.
Okay. All right. We're running out of time, but let's once again remind everybody about the festival and just very quickly run through some of the activities.
May 31st to June 8th. The first day we have an opening event on May 31st, where we'll kind of open the chocolate festival. It's open to anyone. It's a free event, and it's going to be held at Dodgy Dock. And at that event, they can find out more about all the other days if they'd like to, and they can buy tickets. That same day, we'll also be doing like a quick tour around St. George's and a calabash painting class, where Stacey Byer will demonstrate how to paint a calabash, just decorative for your house, whatever you want to use it for. On the second day, which is the first, we'll be going to the Grenada Chocolate Company, and then to the House of Chocolate later. And then later that day, we'd also be going to Silver Sands for a sunset fashion show event. And then you can also either choose the sunset fashion show or go to the hash at Diamond Estate. The Sunday is what we're calling the self-care day. So you're going to start off with chocolate yoga, then you can go to a chocolate brunch, and then you can have you can make potions with chocolate, kind of like a spa treatment for yourself. And then we'll be ending the day with Cocoa Tales and pizza by the waterfront at our new bar at Dodgy Dock. Yeah, Cocoa Tales. At our new rum shop at the resort at True Blue Bay. So that will all be happening at True Blue Bay. The Monday will be at Belmont Estate. And then later that day we'll be at the brewery. And the brewery has prepared, I think it's about 3 different chocolate beers and they're going to be making one out of white chocolate, which I'm very excited to try. That's also a free event. And then the Tuesday, we'll be doing a making chocolate like an Aztec. So it's a metate class, so you'll be grinding the cocoa on one of those stone structures with like a stone roller. That's a free event as well. And then we'll be doing our cooking class. We have a lady from the UK. Her name is Michelle Troussel, and she was a Master Chef contestant on the famous UK show, and she'll be doing a cooking class with our guests. And then we will be going to Silver Sands again for the chocolate and rum pairing with and the mini chocolate salon. So as you can tell, every day has a lot of different events, so there's something for everyone to go to. The Wednesday we'll be going to Crayfish Bay, and then we'll be having a chocolate themed street food at Dodgy Dock. And Thursday we're doing a coffee to cocoa crossover. So if you're interested in coffee, I know I am. We have a guy called Nick Davis from Jamaica from 11 Cocoa, and he will be coming over to do that workshop. And then later that day we're going on Savvy's, the sailing boats, on their new one, Jambalaya. It's for a sunset sail and chocolate tasting on the sea, snorkeling. And Friday, we'll be going to the Tri-Island Estate, which is in St. David's. That's the newest chocolate estate, as far as I know, on the island. They make the honey chocolate, which tastes amazing. We'll be going there, and then later we'll be at Mount Cinnamon. So that's June 7th. We'll be at Mount Cinnamon for a chocolate bonfire night. That's also a free event. And then Saturday, which is the last day. I know it's a lot of different events there's something for everyone. Saturday is our closing day, so we'll be having first in the morning we'll be having a chocolate brunch at the Tower, where you get a tour of the Tower Estate in St. Paul's, and then you'll have a chocolate brunch prepared by one of our international chefs that are coming. And later that day, we'll be doing a chocolate extravaganza at the vendors market in Grand Anse on the beach. That will start at 3 p.m. and end at 8. And there'll be lots of different activities, fun activities for kids. We have another chocolate fashion show happening there, and it'll just be lots of chocolate food and different vendors. All the regular vendors who are there at the vendors market will also be there. So yeah, that's our last day.
This place is going to be inundated with chocolate for the next little while.
Yes.
And by the way, I was looking at your website last night, and I noticed that chocolate also has a beauty effect. People use it for beauty.
Like face masks at our spot, True Blue. We do chocolate.
You guys will put anything on your face.
Yeah, we do chocolate spa treatment. So like you can do a chocolate body wrap, you can do a chocolate facial. We can make anything chocolate for you if you like.
Body wrap.
So I just want to mention that we are selling our tickets on our website, which is www.GrenadaChocolateFest.com. And you can buy tickets for every event or register for the free events. And also, if you want more information, you can follow us on Facebook and Instagram, where I do all the updates. And you can harass me if you have questions or anything, and I'll be happy to help. Our Instagram is Grenada Chocolate Fest, and same for the Facebook, Grenada Chocolate Fest. So
I know one of the things they can harass you about is accommodation, this works really well for you guys, because the True Blue Bay Resort provide accommodation, and you guys.
Yeah, so most of the activities are based at the resort, and all of our transport will be leaving from the resort. So if anyone's coming from abroad, they can stay at True Blue Bay Resort. We also have specials, which you will see on the website for. It's the Lansdowne Cottages, Koyaba, Mount Cinnamon, and Seabreeze Hotel.
Okay.
Yeah, so you can get Grenada Chocolate Festival specials from those resorts.
All right. Gotta go, but listen here. There's somebody watching you in Florida right now. Ryan Jabani says, health benefits of dark chocolate. Powerful antioxidants.
There we go, yes.
Improves circulation. This guy, by the way, is a nurse. Lowers blood pressure. Reduces heart disease. Did you know all that? An anti-inflammatory.
Wow, I didn't know that one.
Insulin resistance, and improves the brain function.
Well, there we go. We need to have him coming to the festival next year to do a talk on benefits.
Absolutely. Jackie O says, once you go dark, you never go back.
It's true. It's very true.
Thank you very much, Renatta. And please, do me a favor. Give my love to your mom.
I will.
And just so that Dad doesn't feel that he's been here tons of times.
I know, he loves the show.
And just in case, I don't want him to feel left out. So please,
okay.
I'm not sending my love, but tell him I said hi.
Regards.
Okay. Thanks a lot, Renatta.
All right, thank you so much for having me.
Good to see you.
You too.
And we'll take a little break, folks, and we'll come on back with our next guest right after this.
I'm always on the move. Training, traveling, competing. So it's good to know I have Co-op Bank in the palm of my hand.
Introducing e-banking, one of many customer convenience services from Grenada Cooperative Bank, and there's more to come.
It's swift, simple, and secure.
Welcome home.
Together with you, our customers, we energize our community.
Together with you, we energize our economy.
We are working together to give our nation a better tomorrow.
It's you, we energize our future. Together, we energize our nation.
Thank you for partnering with us as we energize our Spicer.
Grenlec, energizing our Grenada.
My name is Jennifer James, and I've been making confectionaries for the past 7 years. Growing up as a little girl, I always wanted to make these little things. Fudge, sugar cake, tamarind ball, these little things. I read something actually, and it said that tamarind itself is very good because it eliminates fat from the liver. You get the mature tamarind and you crack it, you shell it out. I would add a little baking soda, some spices. I would leave it to rest probably for about 2 hours and then add my sugar and just start kneading. I usually knead it hard enough so that I can roll it. When I finish roll it, I will paste it with the actual white or brown sugar and you have a nice tamarind ball. I have been providing food fair with tamarind ball about 6 years now. I started producing tamarind ball to sell for the school children. I thought I could advance somewhere. So I went to food fair and I asked one of the salespersons there if they would be interested in selling my tamarind ball. And she told me yes. She told me to bring 20 packets to start with. It was really a joy for me because I wanted to extend on my little business. My name is Jennifer James and I work with the food fair to provide you with tamarind balls.
Juve chocolates, cocoa nibs, and cocoa balls from Diamond Estate Grenada are now available at Amazon.com, Amazon.ca, Amazon.co.uk, and GrenadaMarket.com. Try the sensational touch of nutmeg and a touch of ginger chocolates, 75% dark and rich, 100% pure cocoa, and their 60% dark and sweet chocolate bars today. Amazon Prime members enjoy free shipping on these orders in the USA, Canada, and Europe. GrenadaMarket.com. When you can't come to the island, the products of the island will come to you.
Alrighty, folks, we are back. And I'll tell you what, we've got two charming young ladies sitting here with me. They are here this morning because I extended an invitation to them to respond to some comments that were made a couple of weeks ago by somebody who was in here trying to draw to the attention of the Grenadian public certain issues with regards to the services provided to persons with disabilities in this country. The lady's name was or is Sherdine Thomas, and I heard from somebody after the program that there was some concerns about some of the remarks, some of the statements made by Ms. Thomas. So I invited both Ms. Thomas and somebody from the school, we spoke with Ms. Thomas last week, and this week I have actually invited somebody from the School for Special Education and somebody from the Ministry of Education. They are, my dear friends, Jennelyn St. John. Why not just one John? St. John, huh? Just let me bring these two ladies up here. Yeah, see them? The lady on the left is Jennelyn St. John, and she's Special Education Officer with the Ministry of Education. And the lady on the right is Patti Williams, who's the principal of the School for Special Education. Let me start with you, Patti Williams, because you're the first person I spoke to about this. You heard the program.
Yes.
What are the concerns that you had regarding what you heard?
The concerns I had, based on what was said in the program, were matters pertaining to the students being at school, the services provided for students with disabilities, as well as the service of the caregiver that was assigned.
Okay, now what concerned you about those statements?
They were not forthcoming. Very not forthcoming.
Could you sort of elaborate for me?
For example, to elaborate, I would have to go back a long way. I don't know if you'd allow me to.
Please do.
Because it started with Ms. St. John. John is like my boss from the Ministry of Education. Mm-hmm. So last year, she informed me about the student who was supposed to be enrolled at my school and what we needed to do. It's about this term, again, April to July, what we call the Trinity term, and what would be needed, what accommodations we would need to make at the school for the child. One of the things in transition is to have the child at the school at least once per week to get acclimatized with school, because he has not been at school for a while. Now, Ms. St. John came to my school one day. She waited for hours that morning. The child was supposed to be brought so she could introduce the child to us at school. Nobody called. Nobody said anything. If I'm correct, you had to call and find out what was going on. And I don't know what the conversation. It had ended up that they came in late on, almost after lunch. And she was there at 9 in the morning. After that...
Any excuse given?
When I contacted the father, it's the father who came with the child. He said that he was running late. He was coming from a good way off, and he was running late. So that was the explanation given. But although I had a lot of other things, other engagements that morning, I knew it was in the child's best interest to wait to see, because I would have to observe his reaction to school, and that will give us an indication as to the kind of programs needed to be put in place to assist the child.
Okay, but the intent was to have this child enrolled in the school.
At that time, he was supposed to come once a week after to transition, just for observation, as Ms. said, to see what best services could be provided for him.
Did he?
No.
He did not?
After that visit, not a call, never showed up.
Was he aware, was his parent aware that he was supposed
Very
to
much
be
so. Very much so. We had a day said what day he could come in, and nothing. That was April to July 2018.
All right.
So we go to September to December, and New school year, the child was registered and enrolled. Registered, the parent come in with the birth certificate and do a little interview. Enrolled is when we put the child's name on the register, supposed to be in school. And again, no show, no call. Prior to that, interviews were done for a caregiver because I had asked for a caregiver for the school because we have lots of children who need to be potty trained. And in my experience now, I've been telling parents that they have to hold on for admittance to school because we don't have a caregiver, somebody designated to potty train the children, take them to the toilet. It's a strain on the teachers. Most times there's one teacher in a class with a number of students. When the teacher leaves the class to go toilet another, most times there isn't anybody to supervise them. So this was the strain. When I noticed this was a frequent occurrence, I asked that we get a caregiver for the school. Interviews were done. One caregiver was successful. Just when I thought the caregiver was for the school, I was told that the caregiver is solely for that child.
A caregiver specially assigned
for
to that
child. September to December.
That's Ms. Thomas's son.
Yes. When I was told that by my district education officer, she came down to the school and specifically told me so, and asked me to call Ms. Thomas and tell her she could bring in the child to be registered. I did that. She brought him in, registered, enrolled him. Not a show, not a call. That Michael term.
So
the caregiver was at the school. One of the responsibilities of the caregiver, which I made clear to Ms. Thomas at the time, is there's a school bus that the ministry provides for the children. The caregiver is to ride the school bus, get the child from under NAS where they pick up the children, and take him to school. In the afternoon, ride with him, drop him off at NS. I said, she is not to come off the bus. She is to ride with him. Not a call, not a show. This happened September to December. January started. January to April term, same thing. Until the last 2 weeks in that term in April, before we closed for Easter, she called me and said she wanted to send her child to school. I said to her, the caregiver is now well, she's on sick leave. Keep in touch with me and we will see what happens. At that time, she was supposed to, the sick leave had ended around just to the close of school. And she didn't call back the same time. School reopened and there was us on social media.
Social media, that's how I learned about this.
Yeah.
Miss St. John, I mean, come on. You're sitting here listening to this. What goes through your mind?
Mr. Grant.
Call me George, please. Make me feel like a youngster. Make me feel like a youngster.
Okay, George. When I started to work at the Ministry of Education, one of the first proposals that was written was for a caregiver to be assigned to the special schools. Because I realized that it was kind of a dangerous thing, like Mrs. Prince would have just mentioned, to leave the children unattended to care for another one when they would soil themselves and so on. Now, these teachers go out of their way to do the cleaning up and so on, right? So, and I don't think we are supposed to ask the teachers to do that. So, that was one of the first proposals written. I was later informed by the then Chief Education Officer that he got apparently he was in contact with the then principal, or he was in contact with the school, and he was informed that a caregiver is not needed at the school. That's the reason why there wasn't a caregiver at that school during that period of time. So it was very annoying to hear on social media the picture being painted that we are not making provisions for children with special need. Victoria School for Special Education, they got their caregiver. The one at the Lime should have been assigned around the same time. But if they were told that a caregiver was not needed, hence the reason why there was a struggle later on to have a caregiver assigned.
you know, I think everybody knows that your ministry is operating with limited resources. And I mentioned this morning that, yes, limited resources doesn't just mean not having money.
Yes.
It could also mean, you know, not having the skills and so on. But I've done some asking around, and I get the feeling that, yeah, certain efforts are being made. But then you come across somebody who paints a picture like was painted 2 weeks ago.
Yes.
And that caught my attention. That caught my attention because while I want to help that person out there who was crying out on social media, I also want to help you guys. So that's the reason why I was disturbed, and that's the reason why I have you both sitting here. Somebody named Karen Floyd. And by the way, Miss Thomas has been on social media this morning, lashing out at you guys for being here. I'm not going to dignify those comments, but I see here somebody named Karen Floyd has just posted something here on Facebook saying, 2 of them lies, all lies.
Oh my God.
Tell me, let me start with you, Patti.
Mr. George, I wish I was given permission to work with the school's logbook.
Hold on. You too, call me George.
Okay.
Mr. George. Jeez.
Sorry, George.
And you see that superintendent over there? When we get to him, I'm going to tell him the same.
Okay. George. Everything that goes on at school is documented in the school's logbook. Dates, what occurs. So I am talking from what is recorded in the school's logbook. I could give you dates. The dates, the child, Miss Thomas brought the child on he was enrolled on the 9th of October. 9th of October. Yep. And her child was enrolled since 2016 at the school and is attending school.
The girl. 3 years ago.
The girl, yeah. And she was registered and enrolled on the 5th of January 2016. The other one was the 9th of October 2018.
There's a comment here from somebody named Michelle Duncan on Facebook. She says, I'm confused. The principal said she asked for a caregiver. Miss St. John said they were told one was not needed. Clarify that for...
prior.
I am talking about prior. When I joined the Ministry of Education around 2008, one of the first proposals that was written by me was the request for a caregiver for the special schools. But the school would have indicated to the chief education officer at the time that there was not a need for a caregiver at the school.
I guess that was based on the complement of students they had. They just felt a
Yes,
caregiver was not
maybe
needed.
yes. But in working, I was at schools. I worked in the schools, so I know that there are times when you will have to help with the toileting for the students. When I was placed at the Ministry of Education and I realized it is a dangerous thing to have teachers leave their classrooms to go and assist with the toileting of the children, then that is the reason for making that request. That's one of the first proposals written.
Yeah. And what she said is what happened then. I have been as principal for the past 2 years. So, and as I told you, what I noticed, new children coming in, most of them are not potty trained, and I've been telling the parents, I can't take them because we are so overloaded already. And that is why I heightened the need for us to have one. And again, one was hired, and then this one was specifically put towards that child. So we are still without one at the school. We are still without one because the one that was hired is for the child who has never come for whatever reason or the other.
All right. Margaret Francis is listening to you in New York. And she says she's responding to Michelle Duncan, whom you responded to. Margaret says, Michelle Duncan, that is exactly the point. The ministry dropped the ball, and so began the rolling of the stone down the hill to the mess we have today.
I will not, but the Ministry of Education is supposed to provide caregivers for the school, right? But at that time, if persons could remember, in terms of hiring, there was a there wasn't much hiring taking place, right? So, making the request for a caregiver, yes, it was priority, and yes, I must say that we took long to provide a caregiver. The fact is that the caregiver was provided, and the child never attended school during that period when the caregiver was provided.
And a call was never made to say why the child wasn't coming to school. That caregiver rode the bus, as I said, every morning for the September to December term. Came back every day without the child, and no call was made.
Bob Marashow is listening to you folks, and he says, in the court of public opinion, hearing both sides, I tend to believe Miss Prince. Who's Miss Prince? Ah, okay.
Got two names too.
She sounds believable and supports her side of the story with documentation. There is no winner in this case, just one loser, the child. All right? Megaman Alexander says, those in authority should know what the schools needed. The ministry workers and the Minister of Education are not doing their jobs.
We are here to speak to that situation, Mr. George, and I don't want us to lose. Sorry, it's a teacher in me. Sorry, George. And I don't want us to lose focus here, because the picture was painted about a child or two children not being at school, basically. When I listened to the interviews, this was the gist of what I got. So I'm not here to say what the ministry, there is no system that is perfect. There is always room for improvement. Would you know, the ombudsman called me, Mrs. St. John called me, the district education officer called me and gave me directives pertaining to that specific situation. Mm-hmm. That is how far up things went. The ombudsman sometimes would pop in the morning on her way to work and say, I'm popping in to check on this one, and I would always say, I have not seen him. Sometimes she called, and same answer. And it was Mrs. St. John who came just before school closed for the Easter, and she asked. And I believe she made a phone call. And
all right. Margaret in New York says again, as I see it, there is a glass of spilled milk on the floor. The ministry says it's the mother's fault, and the mother says it's the ministry's fault. Regardless of whose fault it is, the milk is still on the floor. So how do we clean it up and ensure it doesn't happen again? Ernesto says, I think she needs to be there to defend herself. Ernesto was suggesting a little while ago, he says, I think we need to have Miss Thomas together with these ladies to get to the bottom of the truth. I'm gonna supersede that with what Margaret is saying here. We have milk on the floor. We need to fix it. We can dwell on this for the next 6 years. It ain't gonna make a difference. All right? Miss St. John, don't mind if I call you Miss St. John. and Ms. Patti Williams. Where did the prince come from?
Marriage.
Oh, marriage. Oh, I see. Okay. Did you know that, Superintendent? Oh, you didn't know that? You see the things you learn when you come here, Super? Yeah. Let me ask you this. Okay. What's the way forward on this? Margaret says the child is the loser here. We got to get this resolved. Talk to Miss Thomas, because she's out there watching you right now. Mm-hmm. Talk to her. The way forward, please. Start with you.
The way forward is shared responsibility. Right now, we can't go picking up children at their homes and bringing them to school and dropping them back. The bus picks the children up at NS. Once the child is there at NS.
Go ahead.
Oh, okay. Once the child is there, we have spoken about relief staff. There is something being done to get a replacement for the caregiver who is still on sick leave. So once this is done, the child is at NS, the bus picks up the child, brings him to school, the bus drops him there, and that will be it.
I don't think we want to have a blame game going on.
No.
Right.
Initially, when the child was supposed to be at the school for socializing, getting, trying to get him a little bit used to the school and so on, the father and the grandmother accompanied the child, right? Now, when the child was supposed to be going into the school 1 day per week, that is when a lot of the programs that the child would need would have been put in place. Yeah. The child never attended school, so now that the new term started, and Ms. Thomas is indicating that a replacement should have been put in place. If the ministry provided the caregiver, there should have been one put in place. The child never attended school. So, that's, we expected the caregiver to be back in school this new term. It so happened that she's not able to.
She's ill.
She's not well. So she's not able to be at school. Had the child attended school at that period, I'm sure by now he would have been socialized, and maybe a caregiver solely for him would not have been needed. So we have Ms. Thomas advocating for her children is good. But we have to be truthful. We cannot just paint one picture, because when we paint pictures, we have to remember it is not always easy to put a veil over the picture. To some persons, what is said, they go just by what is said. They take no time to try to find out the other side of the story. They just take it as it is, okay? Now, when you paint that picture, sometimes it's that first impression, you cannot get over it. Yes, a caregiver should have been assigned to the school years ago. Efforts were made to have the caregiver at the school. The school at that time indicated that there was no need for a caregiver. Hence the reason why there wasn't a caregiver at the time when that child should have been at school.
All right. I'll tell you what. I have a call here, and if I recognize that number, I think it's Citizen John Rollo, who was also on the program with that lady. Citizen Rollo, can you hear me?
Good morning, Citizen Grant. Greetings.
Yes, sir.
Greetings to your guests.
Citizen Rollo, before you get started, I have a hold on, Citizen Rollo. I have a superintendent of police sitting here waiting on his turn. And I don't want to get hauled into the police station because I kept this man waiting too long. Okay, so please try and make it as quickly as you can.
Usually to the point, Citizen Grant.
Okay, thank you.
Listen.
Yeah, man.
It is evident that what we hear in there from your guests this morning, the ministry officials, there has been, a serious breakdown in the system. There is a serious deficiency, Citizen Grant. Inadvertently, and I repeat the word, inadvertently, they're admitting to the deficiencies right there this morning in the eyes of the public. Ms. Thomas had right, and I fully support her. And therefore, what I would suggest to these people is get the things straight, put things in place, demand of the government to make things easier for them to do the correct thing, Citizen Grant. What is happening here is not simply because of the whims and fancies of a few public officials. What is happening here, Citizen Grant, as I end, is that the people with deficiency in this here country are being deprived of their fundamental rights as established by international law because of the haphazard way that these officials that are there and the so-called state of Grenada. Deficiencies, which I suggest that we get into immediately and try to correct them. They're admitting that they're at fault. Thank you very much and do have a nice day.
Thank you, Citizen Rollo, and you too have a nice day, sir. I appreciate your call as always. Folks, we're really out of time. Ernest, first of all, JR made a point. I think everybody knows there are a lot of things that are performing under par. Forget about school for special education. Grenada is in a melee right now where things just aren't performing the way they should. Okay, I understand that. But I think we also need to recognize, like I said earlier on, it's not just because of a lack of resources, i.e. cash and knowledge or expertise, whatever. There's an attitudinal problem, okay? Somebody here on Facebook is suggesting, what about you two ladies setting up a meeting with the mother and father of the child in question to resolve that problem? There's a child involved here. Would you two ladies be amenable to setting up a meeting? All you can do, I'm not asking you to perform miracles, just give it your best shot, thereby illustrating to the Grenadian people goodwill. If the lady cooperates, fine. She doesn't, hey, you've done your part, mama. Miss John, would you?
That was put in place, huh? When the child came into the school, we expected that the mother would have been at the school so that we could have had that dialogue. But the mother did not accompany the child to the school. It was the grandmother and the father. That could have, that communication could have taken place, but it didn't happen because Ms. Thomas did not accompany the child. It was one of the reasons I went down to the school was with the expectation that the mother would have been at the school also,
okay.
But she wasn't at the school.
Let's say John. It could have, it didn't. All right? That doesn't mean in the future it can't.
It could happen.
Margaret says here, Margaret is just responding to that phone call. And Margaret says, that's right, Citizen Rollo, it's a total breakdown of the system. You can't tell me that if someone gets ill or dies, everything stops. There should be at least a substitute, even if there is one to rotate among the schools. So you see people out there, they're seeing this from both sides, and they're reaching out to you guys. And I think that's a very positive sign. There's a lot of good outside there. Okay? So please, I'm asking you in the presence of this audience this morning, and they're all over the world. I know it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be easy. But you know something? I would really like to see goodwill be shown. And then, let the ill will come from the other side. But I want to see goodwill coming from my government. I really want to see goodwill. So I'm going to ask you guys, please, try and set up a meeting. And you know what, ladies? I am here 24/7 for you. Call and say, hey, George, we talk, and look at Wago. And if necessary, I hope it doesn't go this far, but if necessary, I could bring both of you back and the lady and place you all in front of the world out there and let them see. But I'm asking the ministry to take the high road. Could you, pretty please? Miss St. John?
Yes.
Say yes, George, with a smile, please.
Yes, George.
With a smile. Patti?
I heard you, George.
Superintendent? Boy, I'm so glad I have a police in here today. I'm so glad I have a police in here. Superintendent, you heard? They both said yes, a little bit reluctantly, and I understand that reluctance. I can understand it, okay? But like I say, let's take the high road. You agree with that, Super? Thank you. Super agrees. I'm proud of you ladies coming in here and sitting down, okay? Believe me, I ain't no dodoy. I know you have a lot of challenges to face out there. And I admit that. But somebody has to take the high road. Look at me. You know the hell they put me through? You know? Huh? But I still come and sit down here every Sunday morning, and I try, and I try. Take the high road, okay? Folks, we have been talking with, let me make sure I get these titles correct. I really don't want to, I tell you, I have a police in here this morning. I have to be real careful. We have with us Ms. Jennelyn St. John, who's the Special Education Officer, and also Patti Williams, who's the principal of a school for special education. Patti is the one in black and white over there, and the other one wearing my favorite colors and black is Jennelyn St. John. Thank you so much, ladies. I really do appreciate your coming in here. Any parting words before we get the cop in here?
I thank you, George, for having us.
Yeah.
And we are here to serve our children in the best way that we can.
Right. That's
As
what I
a
wanna hear.
staff, we say we bloom where we are planted. But whatever we have, we work with it. I thank you.
Somebody named Michelle Duncan just put a note up here saying, I see a mother that is hurting. Maybe a lapse in communication on both parts. Can we get this right for September? What's happening in September?
New school year.
New school. Okay. Thank you, Michelle. Thanks, ladies.
Thank you, George.
All right. Now that you've warmed the seat up for the superintendent, we're going to bring him in here. And folks, I'm going to take a quick little break, and we are going to come right back after this.
Grenadian General Insurance Company, strength and stability. Grenadian General Insurance Company. Tell your friends, tell your family. We cover householders comprehensive. Motor and even fire too. Contractors all risk burglary. Public liability. Professional indemnity. Directors liability. And wait, we still have more. Come and find out more what you're waiting for.
We are located on Scott Street, St. George's. For more information, call 440-2434.
Tell everybody.
I'm always on the move. Training, traveling, competing.
A commemorative postage stamp.
So it's good to know I have Co-op Bank in the palm of my hand.
Introducing e-banking, one of many customer convenience services from Grenada Co-Operative Bank, and there's more to come.
It's swift, simple, and secure.
Welcome home.
Juve chocolates, cocoa nibs, and cocoa balls from Diamond Estate Grenada are now available at Amazon.com, Amazon.ca, Amazon.co.uk, and GrenadaMarket.com. Try the sensational touch of nutmeg and a touch of ginger chocolates, 75% dark and rich, 100% pure cocoa, and their 60% dark and sweet chocolate bars today. Amazon Prime members enjoy free shipping on these orders in the USA, Canada, and Europe. GrenadaMarket.com. When you can't come to the island, the products of the island will come to you.
My name is Jennifer James, and I've been making confectionaries for the past 7 years. Growing up as a little girl, I always wanted to make these little things. Fudge, sugar cake, tamarind ball, these little things. I read something actually, and it said that tamarind itself is very good because it eliminates fat from the liver. You get the mature tamarind and you crack it, you shell it out. I would add a little baking soda, some spices. I would leave it to rest probably for about 2 hours and then add my sugar and just start kneading. I usually knead it hard enough so that I can roll it. When I finish roll it, I will paste it with the actual white or brown sugar, and you have a nice tamarind ball. I have been providing food fair with tamarind ball about 6 years now. I started producing tamarind ball to sell for the school children. I thought I could advance somewhere. So I went to food fair and I asked one of the sales persons there if they would be interested in selling my tamarind ball. And she told me yes. She told me to bring 20 packets to start with. It was really a joy for me because I wanted to extend on my little business. My name is Jennifer James and I work with the food fair to provide you with tamarind balls.
Alrighty, folks, it's now, let's see here, 3 minutes away from the hour. Let's say good morning to that gentleman sitting there, Superintendent Vennie Curwen. Good morning, sir.
Hi, good morning, George, and good morning to you listening and viewing public. It's a pleasure to be here.
The man is a fast learner, you know. Good morning, George. The man is a fast learner. Thank you, Super. Really nice having you here. Before we go any further, you know a guy named Peter Bishop?
Yes, I do. He used to be a police officer.
Used to be a police officer? Well,
Yeah.
listen, man. Peter is on Facebook telling the world, let me say hello to Superintendent Curwen. Nice to see he been brought back into the mainstream policing after being banished for years. Very talented police officer. All the best, sir. And Juanita Charles says, hi, good morning to you, Mr. Great Show. How are you keeping? Keep up your good work. Have a wonderful day, Juanita. Superintendent, what do you want to say to Peter?
I just want to tell him thanks. I've always been a worker, George. It doesn't matter what happens to me. My personality or my personal life is not important now. I serve the public of Grenada. And it doesn't matter the obstacles that are at hand. My focus will always be to do what I'm here to do.
Good for you, sir. You and I come from the same mold. And I bet you're younger than me.
Yes,
Superintendent, the reason why I asked you here, one night this past week, you were on Beyond the Headlines.
Oh, yes, I was.
And unfortunately, sir, I only tuned in at the very end. I wanted to call in because I saw that you were talking about noise.
Yeah.
You probably know that years ago I was involved in this noise movement. I started an organization called Citizens Against Noise. Super, since we got the legislation, which was about 10 years ago.
It's almost 13 now.
It's almost 13.
2006.
Lord have mercy.
September 2006.
He's keeping track. Superintendent, thank you. 10, I thought it was 10. Superintendent, is the noise problem any better off today than it was?
I think it has gotten worse. Enforcement have stepped up a bit, but there are a lot more that could be done. As is the case with the ministry, as we've been hearing, resources are limited in every aspect of the word, but we are doing what we can do. We have put systems in place. We are streamlining what we do. We do keep a check on people operating without permission. But you know, it doesn't matter what you do from a law enforcement point of view. There are going to be people who are going to try to violate what is in place. And we have had some successes in, keeping with the legislation. And we continue to work. It's going to be a tedious time for us now as we approach Carnival. This is the time of the year when, we have several complaints of noise and noise pollution. And at this particular time, it's difficult. It's difficult not from a police perspective, but it's also difficult from the legislative perspective. There are some anomalies, if I can say that kind of hinders the effectiveness of executing that particular legislation, particularly when it comes to Carnival. During the year, we are very effective. There's a little loophole in that law that gives us a little headache during the Carnival season.
Which is, can you share that with us?
The Act says in part that, and that is something I really didn't want to go in, George, because of, I don't want to send the wrong signal or the wrong message out there, but the Act says in part that it does not apply to noise made during the Carnival period.
Yeah, and that is not all, Superintendent, I'm not going to ask you to elaborate on that, but Superintendent, when we put together the legislation, we spent 5 years putting this thing together, 5 years. And one of the things we thought would be necessary would be the use of noise meters, okay? However, the commissioner at the time, the attorney general, the solicitor general, it was a team of about 5 of us working on this thing. And they all insisted that rather than using noise meters, we should operate on something called the test of reasonableness. Okay, I think the legislation
speaks of that, yes.
Right. We didn't see how that could work. When I say we, I mean Citizens Against Noise and a lot of people in the general public and me. Because, look, what may be reasonable to me is a pain in the behind to you, Super. Huh?
It is. And I don't think it is objective enough. And you made the point, it's always going to be a subjective test, because as you rightfully said, what is reasonable to me might not be reasonable to you. And so what the legislation seeks to do is to take that away from you and I and put it into the domain of the court and have the court make that determination as to what is reasonable. Looking at quite a number of factors, some of which I probably can talk about here at this particular time. It says in part that the court in determining noise would balance the rights and the interests of the individual against those of the community. And there are a number of points under that particular section, section 4. One of the points is the desirability for cultural and social development. So the act is saying that in determining what is reasonable, the court should consider the desirability for cultural and social development. So in fact, the act is saying the court can allow some level of noise if that noise is geared towards cultural and social development. That's one. 2, it speaks of the pursuit of just economic reward for labor. So if my lifestyle or what I do for a living creates a certain amount of noise, the court will have to weigh the fact that I am disturbing my neighbors as against me making a living, and create or find a balance.
Even though in the name of social development.
Even in the name of social development, yes, yes. And point number 3 is the tradition for particular localities. The act is saying if there's a particular locality that is prone to a certain degree or certain type of noise, the court in determining the reasonableness here should consider that. And there are a number of other factors that are under that, one of which is also the rights of privacy of family life and every individual to peacefully enjoyment of his home and immediate surrounding. So there has to be a balancing act between what the community desires and what an individual in the confine of his home is entitled to. And that is purely a decision that the court has to make.
Then I'm sorry. Sorry, sir, but we have a problem there. Ian Blakey on Facebook is asking a couple of questions here. Who issues licenses permitting places of entertainment to make noise? By what criteria? I am kept awake every month by the moonlight party at Woburn. Residents were never consulted. I also have complaints. So even though, we dropped can, we gave up because we just felt that the legislation was not being implemented. So we gave up. But up to now, people have a headache with noise, call Judge Grant. And they keep calling me. So there's a problem down by the airport. A beach down there, I don't remember the name of the beach.
Concrete Strip, Magazine Beach.
Magazine, whatever.
Yeah.
Okay. Super, answer this gentleman for me, please.
The police officer, the commissioner of police is responsible for granting licenses for public entertainment where noise is concerned and noise will be made. It's unfortunate though because some years ago when I was in charge of the South St. George police station, before these permits or before these licenses are issued, I was always consulted as to the location, the person wanting to put the event on, the views of the community, and it is, we always go there and do a few interviews trying to find out how does that noise affect you. Obviously, there are going to be people who would say that I am affected. But then you have to look at the greater good. You have to look at the need for cultural development and entertainment as opposed to the need for, the enjoyment of your home and the privacy. Because if you don't have this balancing act, there will be no public entertainment. So you have to accommodate public entertainment, but it must be done with a degree of reason and consideration for both the promoter of the show or the event and the community in which that event is going to be held. There has to be that balancing act.
Superintendent, yes. You cannot stall community development and social development. But are you aware, sir, that excessive noise is also a health hazard?
Well, it is. In fact, I've done this program several times, and I've always stressed the point that excessive noise does adversely affect your general health. In fact, there are a number of studies that points and support that particular theory. That is true.
So why don't we include that? You know, you mentioned in the name of social development and cultural development. What about health? Should add that there?
Unfortunately, it's not in the legislation. Maybe that's an amendment that should be considered, you know, and I think we should also get to the point of the control of the noise, because permission might be granted to you to have a particular function, but how do we measure the level of the noise emitted from your equipment? Noise is measured in decibels.
Yes, sir.
We don't have that, you know, we don't have that, the luxury of having, you know, that equipment to do that. So that is why the reasonableness is in the legislation and not the instrument to measure the noise.
Superintendent, I'm going to make you regret bringing that up. Superintendent, this thing about the level of noise, very valid point, sir, very valid point. When I asked of the police, why didn't you want to use noise meters and say, okay, the level, acceptable level, 90 decibels. I'm just using that as an arbitrary figure. When I asked them, why didn't they want to do that? They said, well, you know, we're going to have to go out and buy noise meters, and, you know, we're operating with limited resources. I understand that. Police as broke as me. Superintendent, we went out. We went out and started running around to corporate sponsors in this country. Get our few penny halfpenny. And we went out and we bought noise meters and gave to the Royal Grenada Police Force. They ain't bother with us. And you know what is so ironic now? I think it was a year or two ago. I heard a police being asked, why is it that they do not use noise meters? Why is it that they're not enforcing the legislation? And he says, it's because the legislation needs to be changed. We need noise meters. You know, when I heard this, sir, I wanted to regurgitate, because we went and begged for money, sir, and gave it to them. We didn't give them the money, we gave them the noise meters. Turn thumbs down on us.
It was a very good gesture on you and your organization part to do that, but to give effect to the noise meter, the legislation had to include it. So even with the presence of the noise meters, without the legislative framework, it would have been useless.
Absolutely.
Would have been useless.
How long now we've been talking about the need for changes in the legislation?
And changes, particularly now, you know, are encouraging, because it makes enforcement of the legislation easier. When you go to the scene of a complaint and music is playing, to you, the police officer, because we're speaking here about reasonability, to you, the police officer, that noise may not be loud at all, but his citizens are complaining that it's a nuisance to them. But if we leave it on reasonability and the police officer doesn't think it is loud, then we have a problem. So it should not be left to the subjective mind of the individual. It should be left to some sort of device or equipment that measures the sound and have an acceptable level by which these noise can be, is tolerated. That would be the general way of giving effect to that legislation. That's my personal view.
Personal view, fine. Hey, I support you. I keep calling you commissioner. Are you going to be the next commissioner?
In any job you're in, you have to aspire to the ultimate. And I wouldn't say that I do not have those aspirations. I do have those aspirations.
Superintendent, so can I assume that there's hope, or can I ask you to spearhead a movement to get some changes in the legislation? You know the problem is out there. And superintendent, It's been said that one of the reasons why the situation is not getting better, at the top of the program, you actually said it's getting worse. Superintendent, it's because we haven't held a few people accountable. You don't have to go and pick up everybody in this country. You know, just make a few examples of people, sir.
But I know we have arrested a few people. We have taken.
You have?
Yeah, we have taken a few equipment because the law gives us the authority to confiscate the equipment if you've been warned of noise.
I know the law does that, but
right.
Have people been charged?
And I know in fact we have done that, yes.
You have charged?
I have been prior to now, I've been head of prosecution for about 20 years.
Okay.
So, I do have personal knowledge of some of these things that is.
Well, let me tell you, I'm glad to hear that. Let me look into the eyes of my viewers right here, because up to, I think it was sometime last year, a certain leading attorney in this place told me that we've had this legislation for 10 years. And nobody has been charged.
No, that is not true.
So it's
I can vouch that I do know personally that we have charged a few people. We have had a few musical equipment confiscated, and at the end of the proceeding, it's up to the magistrate to decide what happens to those musical equipment, whether or not they are given back to the individual or whether or not they are forfeited to the state. But fortunately, the few cases that I know of, we have given it back to the individuals.
Well, perhaps it's time, Superintendent, to make some noise about the fact that you've charged a few people.
Yeah, well, we are in the process now of doing that. Our media relations arm of the police force is growing and developing, and we are going to be putting a lot more of what we do out into the public, because by and large we do a lot, and there's a lot more that can be done, but we are doing a lot. But I don't think the public is hearing sufficiently what the police is doing, and so going forward, in fact, that happens to be under my portfolio now as head of Community Relations Department. We are now going to be sensitizing the public a lot of what we do, because we need that partnership. But if you don't know what one partner is doing, how do you know where and when you can help that partner? And so we're going to be putting a lot more of what we do out into the public.
Oh boy, that's a whole story, and something I really want to talk to you about. Really want to talk to you about, because I too am concerned about the PR of the police department. The PR is one thing. Superintendent, while those of you in authority, the people who carry the weight, may be well-intentioned, the quality of people you have on the ground out there and supposedly enforcing the law makes a big difference, sir.
Well, that is true.
Because you may be well-intentioned. There's some kids wearing police uniforms out there. Superintendent, these guys don't have a clue what they're supposed to be doing. And to them, I ride bus almost every day. Mm-hmm. When I sit down on a bus at the bus terminal downtown, sir, and I hear somebody go by with a car blasting to hell all over St. George's, and the police walking around, that man violating the law.
And George, the behavior for police officers is not for want or lack of training. I am in some way involved.
I agree.
I am in some way involved in the training school and, in some of these programs. So it's not for lack or want of training. But I think what is important here is holding people accountable for failing to do what they've been paid to do. And this is something that our new commissioner is focusing very heavily on. Shared responsibility, accountability. Police officers have to do what they've been paid to do. And and he has a phrase that he uses a lot, policing by avoidance. That's one of his strong phrases. And he is getting us, the senior officers, to drill down more and focus a lot more on police officers who, police by avoidance. There's a very point that you're making. You see things and you turn a blind eye to it. But at the end of the day, at the end of the month, you collect a paycheck. We have a duty and we've been paid by the citizens of the country. And we are here to serve the citizens of the country. And if police officers are not doing what they're being paid to do, we want to know about it. And in fact, the department that I now head is the department that is also responsible for investigating the conduct of police officers. So I urge the public, if you have an issue with a police officer or police officers not doing their job or not living up to the professional expectation of the force, we want to know about it. We want to be able to give the public some sort of satisfaction that we are doing all we can to ensure our force remain relevant, remain professional, and that we can engage with the public in the manner that they expect us to.
Superintendent, you ever heard the term nip it in the bud?
Yeah.
Superintendent, maybe this is one of the things you should include. Screening. Not everybody's cut out to a police. There are people out there looking for a walk. They want a job. If I had to wear a uniform to get money to put bread on the table, yeah, that's what I do. But Superintendent, you're an experienced cop, you know. It takes a certain breed of person to enforce the law.
But I'll tell you one of the problems we have with that, George. And I do know we do extensive screening. We do biometric testing, we do psychological testing. In fact, we do more screening now than was done when I came into the force almost 34 years ago. Back then, we did not have those kind of screening. But one of the problems that I think we're encountering is the fact that our police officers are coming from our society. And if you look at our society now, there is this degeneration, of values and attitudes, and that's where they're coming from. I mean, we are 110,000. So we cannot create the type of policeman or policewoman we want outside of the 110,000. And I think that's one of our problems. One of our problems is that our moral values have been decayed. We are seeing a general lack, disrespect for law and order, and I think that's one of the problems that we're facing.
Part of the disrespect we're seeing for law and order is because of what we are seeing coming from those who are supposed to be enforcing the law and order.
Yeah, and on that front, as I indicated, we want to address this. And the population see a lot of these things before we do. And sometimes we are the senior tier before us. We don't see a lot of these things. You out there, the police officers are out there, they're on the beat, they're in the street. And as I said in another forum, sometimes instead of getting on social media and highlighting the negatives, it might be easier to pick the phone up and call my office, call my department, call somebody in the senior tier and make a complaint so that we can address it directly. See, if you don't tell us, don't assume that we always know. If you don't tell us, don't assume that we see. You see, there are things that we do and we see, and we address those that we do and see. But those that we don't, we want to hear about it. If you see it as a member of the public, please feel free, call the Community Relations Department, 440-3764, make a complaint. 444-1958, this is our anonymous line where you're not required to give your identity. But just tell us what you see, what you know. Give us an opportunity to address the ills, the anomalies, and all of the negatives that we've been accused of. We want to be able to say we know about it and we have done something. But unless you play your part as a member of the public, sometimes it's not important to criticize because you're part of it. And I'm going to say you, George, I'm not speaking about you, the individual, You see it, you know it's happening, you're aware of it, but you refuse to do or say anything about it. But tomorrow you're on social media talking about A, B, and C of the police force, which is negative. But you have not taken the opportunity to complain, to share the information that you have, giving us an opportunity to address it. If you do, and we failed, then you have all the right to criticize, all the right to your social media expose and everything else.
Super. Somebody here named Arthur Langine is asking for your number again. Give that number again.
It's 440-3764. 440-3764, and it's the Community Relations Department. We are located just on the foot of the fort, the first building on the left-hand side going up. That's where we are. And we address, and we are the department that is responsible for investigating complaints against police officers, whether it's unprofessional conduct, whether it's a crime, anything at all that is unbecoming of a police officer. We want an opportunity to clean out, to weed out, to streamline what we do. I quite agree with you. There's a lot of police officers who don't live up to the expectations. Do we know about it? Some we do. And currently I can say that we are taking some actions currently.
You just raised a point there I want to take you up on. It's about social media because you're right on the money, sir. Sir, social media is a phenomenal medium. Mm-hmm. I use it, okay? But there are some people, rather, like you just said, rather than come speak to you, they go blah, 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 blah on social media, okay? Some, sir, because they're naive, they just don't realize what they're doing. Superintendent, some of them do it maliciously.
That is true.
To embarrass people.
That is true. Because I do not want to speak of any specific issue here, but that point you make, I do know of a few incidents that we have addressed. And I have seen it appear on social media after. And I know for a fact that the owner of the post knows differently. The owner of the post has the correct information, but for whatever reason, you see it on social media and you have to ask yourself, was that the person I've just dealt with? Was that the person in the conversation, in the conflict? So I think you're very correct. People have the individual agendas, and I don't think there is anything stopping them from doing what they want to do that is malicious.
Well, I got some more good news for you, Sup. You can walk out of here smiling today. Somebody named John Crow Alexander, he was on this program a few weeks ago. He is in New York. He says, I'm available as a media consultant for the police department. What are you laughing at?
No, I'm just happy to know that somebody's willing to offer their services to help us improve.
He says, police do not want to be seen as bad police. Give me your email address, please. About letter writing, I wrote, but have not gotten a response. You see, again, something like that reflects badly on the police. But it is not necessarily, I'm not defending the police, it's not necessarily the police. Somebody may be sitting on the letter there.
Could be. Or the other question is whether or not he had the right address or the right email address. Those two could be factors. Because, it's going to beat me that somebody would write and offer their services and wouldn't have a response from us. So I don't know of his letter, so I do not want to comment on whether or not he had a response or didn't have one, because I have no knowledge of that.
So John Crow, what do you want? You want his? He says, give me your email address.
And I can do that on air because that's not a problem. My last name is Curwen, spelled Curwen, the number 32, and at hotmail.com. So it's Curwen32 at hotmail.com.
Curwen32
at hotmail.com. And it's spelled CUR as in run, WEN.
Look at something here again. You see, there we go. Esther Morgan. Police officers are in the rum shop drinking rum with uniforms on.
Yeah, and that is unacceptable. Not only drinking rum is acceptable, but eating and drinking in the uniform, just simple like that, is unacceptable. That's against our regulation, much less to be drinking alcoholic beverages while in uniform. We have been taught that in training school. I know every police officer is aware of that, but you will always find the bad apples. You will always find those who discredit those of us who, wanting to keep the SPD go as high as we can. Again, let us know. We want to know who our police officers are who are discrediting the organization.
All right. Superintendent, there's another old saying. Rome. Arthur Langayan says, I just called the number 440-3764. I got no answer.
Well, he wouldn't get an answer. This office doesn't open on Saturdays and Sundays. Okay. This office is Monday to Friday, 8 to 4. And we are there very early before 8 o'clock and sometimes way past 4 o'clock on Monday to Friday. All right. Today is Sunday, so it's closed.
All right. Superintendent, I'm really enjoying this. I could sit and talk to you until about 5 o'clock, but I'm starting to get hungry too. So let me tell you this. Superintendent, there's an old saying, Rome was not built in a day. Okay? I'm not asking you guys to perform miracles. But earlier on in this conversation, I got the feeling that, you're newly heading up a department, and I'm hopeful we could see a little change, sir? Just a little bit at a time, and we'll get there. But, sir, if people cannot see any sort of change whatsoever, after you said what you said here, then they look to the top. And it's the top they're going to hold accountable, sir.
That is true. That is true, and that's why at every level of the force, we have to do what we have to do to ensure our leadership, the strategic plans and the strategic intention of the force is carried out. It's not going to be carried out by the executive, it's going to be carried out by the people under the executive, including myself and those at that level. And that is the reason why I said, we want to know what's happening, so that we don't only make our executive look good, but we make our force look good. We make our country look good in the eyes of the international community. We have been credited for various good deeds. We have one of the lowest crime rate in the Caribbean. We boast of that. But a lot of that didn't happen because of quote-unquote, the goodness or the strength or the professionalism of the police officer alone. It is also credited to the cooperation we have been having with the public. And so I stress on this program here the need for deepened and heightened cooperation to be able to get us where we need to go and become more safe and more secure as a destination of choice.
Superintendent, almost time to bail. I gotta go. But let me tell you, thank you so much, sir.
You're most welcome, George.
This conversation has left me with a deep admiration for you.
Thank you.
Lydia James on Facebook here says, yes, he speaks well, very intelligent. You got yourself a date, Super.
Thank you, Ms. James.
Yeah.
Well, George, I'm available for any further program that you may wish to have regarding the police force.
I'm glad to hear you say that, but Super, please, don't wait on Georgie. I have people coming out of my ears, police, agriculture, tourism, everybody. Okay, Super, just pick up the phone. Hey, George, you got some time Sunday?
I am grateful for that opening. I'm really grateful because, that's the direction that we're looking at focusing on now, so I'm really, really, really grateful that is, that opening is being offered.
I have an open door, sir.
Thank you.
And if it's going to mean talking to more people like you, I mean, I sat here this morning, I'm on a high after the conversation we had because it leaves me with hope. Sometimes we get frustrated, sir.
Yeah.
But, hearing the stuff come from you, but I just want to convince myself now that it's not rhetoric. The man is genuine, and like lady here said. So, thanks a lot, sir.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Oswald Darbo, what he says, there's an area on Grenville Street at the junction with Market Hill opposite Dr. McGuire's office marked boldly in yellow, reserved. He says it's marked RESERVE, reserved. And in brackets he puts, it should be reserved.
With a D.
With a D. Canton area on the public road be reserved. Has it been gazetted? Do you know?
I don't know if this particular incident place is gazetted, but the Commissioner of Police is charged with the regulation of traffic. So he has a general authority, to regulate traffic. And so this is something that will be lawful for him to do, yes.
Okay. And if you didn't believe me when I told you about how good I feel, let me tell you, this conversation is having a positive impact already. Somebody named Bagwan Sonia, or I guess it's Sonia Bagwan, but she spelled her name backwards. She says, this is the new police force team.
Yeah, I mean, under our new commissioner, I must dare say we have taken a new direction. Under Mr. Martin, I think he is focused. He knows where he wants to take the force. He's energized. And I think, he has reorganized the organization in the, so that he can get what he wants done. His desired effect, his desired results can be had. And I'm very hopeful myself because I see a new direction. I am very confident. I'm a little bit more motivated now than perhaps I was many, many years ago because I can see the building blocks are adding up. I can see where we're going and, how we get in there, what we need to do to get us where we need to go. I mean, the commissioner don't sleep. He calls me and others all over the night and, that's the kind of vigor you want from a leader.
How is he doing?
He's doing pretty okay. I saw him on Friday. He's up and about, but he's currently on,
He's still on leave?
He's still on leave, yes.
Yes. We go back a lot of years. I have a lot of respect, admiration for the guy. And when I heard that he was appointed, it gave me hope.
Mm-hmm.
But I still have to convince myself, George, Rome was not built in a day. It's not going to happen overnight. Give him time. He's trying. But you guys have some odds against you out there. Just keep on trucking, Super.
Mm-hmm.
Keep on trucking.
Thank you.
Here's a note again. Arthur Langine says, I'm going to hold you responsible for all he said today. I still say thank you for all you said.
Well, thank you, sir. And yes, you can hold me accountable. My word must be my bond.
John Crow Alexander is asking, does the department encourage members to seek a higher education in policing?
In fact, we have been having quite a lot of that lately. Even last week, I was looking at a correspondent where we had a number of people graduated from the University of the West Indies. When I came into the service, many of us only had O levels. But myself and quite a lot of others have moved on to the associate degree, the bachelor's degree, the master's degree, and yes. So the answer is yes, and every police officer is encouraged to not just rely on what you came in with, but be able to empower yourself while you're here, because that's how you're going to make the difference. Education is forever changing and ever advancing. If you don't advance with it, you're going to get left behind. The citizenry is going to be more educated, more knowledgeable, and we're going to become obsolete. So we have to go with the time. Social media, we've been saying to a lot of our members, social media, technology, we have to keep up. Because if we don't keep up, we will soon be irrelevant. So yes, the answer is yes. They have been encouraged to do that, and we have had several graduates, several with, we have not had a PhD as yet, and I'm hoping that very soon we will have that. But we have several master's degrees. We have several bachelor's degree, and we have several lower level academic accolades that our members have acquired over the years.
Rome was not built
in a day. Yes.
Superintendent, this program is going to be up on it's going to be up on my website, Grenada Broadcast. It's going to be up on Facebook. Go on back when you have some time and listen. I think you'll feel proud of what you hear.
Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, sir.
Thank you. Appreciate it a lot.
Superintendent Vennie Curwen speaking to us right here this morning. Feel good? Yeah. Let me tell you, you, like me, have a lot. I've never run afoul of the law, but I have a lot of issues with the RGPF. A lot. But you know something? I'm also always willing to sit back and say, hey, give them another chance. Not just the police. Not just the police. Government, everybody. Give them another chance. Forgive as God forgave you. Every time you point a finger, take a look. 1, 2, 3, 4. Pointing back at you. Am I going to continue to be vocal? You're damn right I am. Very vocal. But like he said a little while ago, rather than just going on social media and making comments, call them guys. If you try to talk to them and they don't respond, give me a call and I will come here and talk. Okay? Pilgrims, take a little break. We'll come back. Wait, Co-op Bank, want to make some money? Phew. Listen to Co-op Bank. Co-op Bank is on a roll. They're on a roll. And in just a wee bit, I'm going to play you a large chunk of a media conference that they held this week to announce just how well the bank is doing. Break first.
Juve chocolates, cocoa nibs, and cocoa balls from Diamond Estate Grenada are now available at Amazon.com, Amazon.ca, Amazon.co.uk, and GrenadaMarket.com. Try the sensational touch of nutmeg and a touch of ginger chocolates, 75% dark and rich, 100% pure cocoa, and their 60% dark and sweet chocolate bars today. Amazon Prime members enjoy free shipping on these orders in the USA, Canada, and Europe. GrenadaMarket.com. When you can't come to the island, the products of the island will come to you.
I'm always on the move. Training, traveling, competing.
A commemorative postage stamp.
So it's good to know I have Co-op Bank in the palm of my hand.
Introducing e-banking, one of many customer convenience services from Grenada Co-Operative Bank, and there's more to come.
It's swift, simple, and secure.
Welcome home.
Boyo, they gonna fly with kite now. The wind picking up.
I'm coming.
Karim, what you doing? Fly my kite.
Yeah, but not here. You can't fly kite near power lines, boy.
Why not? The wind good.
Because mommy say kite threads conduct electricity.
Yeah, kite. He's right. If your kite gets stuck in power lines, you can cause power outages, or even worse, it can get shocked.
Come, let's go and fly them in the pasture.
Yeah, that makes sense. Kite threads conduct electricity. Do not fly kites near overhead power lines. This can lead to electric shocks and power outages. If your kite gets stuck in power lines, do not try to retrieve it. Release it and call GRENADA. Always fly kites in open areas. Keep your kites far away from roads. And remember, always clean up after yourself.
GRENADA, energizing our Grenada.
Alrighty, folks, I see that, boy, we are having a rough ride this morning on Facebook. Problem is not here. Everything's working fine here, but I can tell by the numbers this morning ain't doing too well there on Facebook, especially judging on some of the comments you made earlier on in the program. Now, just before I fire up Co-op, Loxley Bowen says, when last we hear a police talk like this? Yeah, impressive. Very impressive, and let's give credit where credit is due. Lydia James says, I really enjoy the program today. Absolutely, Lydia. I had a hoot doing it too. John Crow Alexander says, Vinnie Curwen sounds good. I'm with you, George. But on an individual basis, some of them does really play the A. John Crow, you are just a little bit too outspoken for your own good. I wish your mother would put you across her lap and fan your butt. Now, pilgrims, now, let's get down to business here. It is with great pleasure that I play this piece of video for you. This is an excerpt from a press conference which was held by the Grenada Cooperative Bank this past week, talking about how well the bank is doing. And not only did they tell us how well they're doing, they also told us about some of the services they offer. And you know, if you sit and listen to what these guys are saying, you may see some opportunities. Take a listen.
Morning and welcome all.
Good morning, good morning.
Okay, this bank realized solid performance at the end of the first half of the 2019 financial year, which is congruent with the continued growth in the domestic economy. As the economy continues its recovery, the banking sector has seen a turnaround in demand for credit and continued reduction in non-performing loans. Liquidity levels within the banking system remains high as deposit growth flourishes with limited options on the market for returns. Operating costs within the sector continue to rise due to the continual metamorphosis of the regulatory and compliance environment. The banking space remains highly competitive as commercial banks, credit unions, and non-bank financial institutions aggressively compete for business. It is on this backdrop that Grenada Cooperative Bank Limited is pleased to report an unaudited net profit after tax of $5.9 million for the first half of the 2019 financial year. This is an increase of $1.8 million or 44% on last year's comparative. This improvement was primarily triggered by an increase in the operating income and improved loan portfolio quality. In considering the bank's capital position, total assets grew by 6% over the first 6 months of the financial year and now stands at $1.12 billion. Customer deposits stands at $1.01 billion, an increase of $56 million from the $955 million recorded at the last reporting date. The bank was able to cross the billion mark in deposits just 1 year after crossing the $1 billion mark in assets, a continued signal of the liquidity in the market. Capital adequacy and non-performing loan ratios all remain within regulatory requirements, with the non-performing loans ratio at 1.0%, which has been consistently maintained below the prudential benchmark of less than 5%. Notwithstanding the challenges experienced within the banking sector, the bank will continue to focus on its key strategies to ensure its financial objectives are met at the year end and deliver satisfactory returns to shareholders. Thank you.
Good morning, Karima Lois with the New Today newspaper.
Can you tell us how can customers benefit from the success of the bank?
The public can benefit from the bank's successes by firstly investing in the bank shares, which are listed on the Eastern Caribbean Securities Exchange. They can visit our brokerage and investment services units, where our licensed representatives can facilitate trading activities as well as build and diversify investment portfolios on the exchange and other brokerage and investment related services with the bank. And secondly, I might add, customers, the public can become and remain loyal Co-op Bank customers, supporting the banks, utilizing the bank's products and services as we strive to continually provide superior financial products for the markets.
Can you also tell me how has the bank been given back to the communities given the success that you have just elaborated on?
I will take this one. Thank you very much. The bank has 3 major pillars under which we give back to the community. We have sports, culture, and the performing arts. We have health and the environment. And of course, we have education. Let me start with education. We have built out a super starter education investment plan that allows us to award scholarships at the primary, secondary, and tertiary level. And I think this year we have been in the 5th scholarship at the tertiary level, where we finance the university education at the 1st degree level for the winner of that scholarship draw. So we have been giving these scholarships out now for the last 10 or more years, and we continue to build on that program. With respect to health and the environment, as you would be aware, our Pump It Up Family Fun Walk is our biggest corporate social responsibility outreach program. And we have partnered with other institutions, other companies, to establish a fund to rebuild the Carlton home. This fund now stands at around $240,000. So we are getting there to the $500,000 mark, which we have set out to do. And the bank underwrites the entire cost of that event. So we are very proud that we have been able to give back consistently to the community in which we serve.
Good morning.
I could add, before you go, our primary school sports program, which unfortunately this year we were unable to support, but hopefully in the future we'll get back to that program, as the situation is normalized. The SU Knowledge Bowl is another example where we support, education in the community. So it has been a nice run for the bank over the last several years, and we are pleased to continue and to sustain those efforts. Thank you.
Good morning, Samantha Charles, the Grenada Informer. With deposit crossing the $1 million mark as March 31st, what does that really mean?
I will take that question. I think it's important that we highlight the fact that during the first half of the 2018 financial year, the bank would have crossed the $1 billion mark in total assets. And just 1 year later, in the first half of the 2019 financial year, we're crossing the $1 billion mark in deposits, making us the leader in deposit market share among commercial banks on the island. I think that's a testament of customers' continued confidence in the bank and the banking system. But we should also we should not underestimate the impact of the strengthening of Grenada's economy and its good fiscal health on the performance of deposits in the market. On the flip side, the growth in deposits in the banking sector brings an additional dimension which involves the effective management of the excess liquidity to ensure that we give the best return to our shareholders while we manage or we ensure safety. And that's where your strategic and creative management comes to play.
You mentioned the good performance of the economy contributing to deposits to the bank. Would you say that that is the contributing factor to the success that we are speaking about here today, or is there something else?
Well, it's undoubtedly a factor. Once there is growth in the economy, it trickles down throughout the whole economy, and I think that has a big part to play in the excess liquidity throughout the region. Well, in Grenada and throughout the region.
We are all aware of the merger between Republic Bank and Scotiabank. What would be your response to that? And can you also tell me if this would have some effect on Co-op Bank?
Okay, well, in terms of effect, yes, it will have an effect on the bank. I think the primary effect would be to cause the bank to raise the level of our game so that we can continue to outpit the combined forces of those two institutions, which we have been able to outcompete when there were single institutions. So it's a call to duty to take our game to a higher level once that merger takes place. We, between 1998 and 2019, as the data suggests, been able to grow the bank in terms of deposits and assets as the largest bank on the island. So we would suggest that the dynamic going forward will take a while once the merger occurs for the market to settle, and we are quite certain that we have what it takes to continue to compete successfully. I would like to add further that the bank has just launched its strategy called Vision 100, which is designed to take the bank into its centennial year in 2032. That plan was created before the announcement of the merger, and we believe that it is relevant. If we are number one before the merger, after the merger, we have to continue to strive to regain that number one position. And I think that the folks who are in the bank now and those who will be coming in the years ahead will achieve exactly that.
Okay. Customers continue to see increase in the fees and charges. How the bank intends to address the concerns and the frustrations?
Fees and charges. I would start out by saying not because you are not paying for something means that there is no cost. So in the banking system, people have been accustomed to not paying for certain services. And over the last 10 or so years, that has changed, where banks are attempting to recover the cost of providing services to its customers. The primary drivers of some of these costs are compliance and regulatory requirements that the banks would have to meet. So that is extremely noteworthy. So bank fees and charges are here to stay. At Co-op Bank, we pursue what we call a fair fee policy. And that fair fee policy has three components. First of all, we always like to give customers adequate notice when we introduce a fee or we change a fee. And adequate for us means at least a month. I need to pause here and to apologize for the fact that people did not get a full month last time fees were revised. However, that is not the norm. Secondly, we do not intend to be the highest in the market. So our fees, when you compare across financial institutions, are reasonable. And the third component is that we always encourage customers to choose their channels, choose the way they deal with the bank so as to avoid these fees or to minimize them where possible. So that's our strategy. So customers must get accustomed to the fact that they have to pay for services. Choose how you access those services so you can minimize the fees. Choose how you interact with the bank so you can actually avoid those fees where possible. And choose a bank that does not have the highest and most aggressive fee structure in the market. That's us.
As a result of the success of the bank, can you tell me if this year, when paying out dividends, if it would be one of the highest that customers can expect?
Yeah, well, first of all, the customers are not paid a dividend. The shareholders who take the risk, right, having purchase the shares of the bank will be paid an enhanced dividends, no doubt, because the bank belongs to the shareholders. And the dividend policy that the board has approved suggests that dividends will increase commensurate with the level of profits in the bank. So yes, the answer is yes, there will be an enhanced dividend for the 2019 financial year.
And what would be the bank's strategy going forward to ensure that they maintain this or surpass this?
Well, our strategy is based on ensuring that customers get the best quality service that we can offer. So the customer experience is critical for us. The pricing of our products and services is vital. Containing expenses, extremely important. And fundamentally, the loan portfolio quality management, vital going forward. So I think on these avenues or pillars of management strategies, we will be able to sustain those results. I would want to underscore, however, that the performance of the Grenada economy is also vital. If the economy continues to strengthen, then all firms should have improved performance, and our bank will be among those out front in that performance.
Okay, that's all the questions. Okay, we have one or two questions that were emailed in that I would like to ask. We've mentioned that we have strong growth in deposits. So can we expect to have better interest rates paid by the bank on deposits?
I can take that one. The markets work best when they're allowed to function freely. And when demand increases, prices go up. When supply increases, prices go down. So right now we have an excess of liquidity, so you would expect all interest rates to go down, loan rates as well as deposit rates. Banks have to operate with a spread. That's the difference between deposit rates and loan rates. And if you want good banking services, that spread has to be maintained. Now, usually to stimulate an economy, governments try to drop or lower interest rates so that loans are more accessible, people can get on with their lives. But the cost or the price of that for depositors is that deposit rates go down. So you should not expect deposit rates to go back up in the current environment. And in fact, we have to look for alternative means of supplementing that loss in deposit interest income, because that's the reality of today's world. When we were a fledgling economy, you were trying to encourage people into the savings mentality. So you had to put a sort of premium on deposit interest rates to encourage people to save. But now we are maturing. We have to look at other ways that money can be made from money, and deposit rates will have to fall to their natural level that the market can sustain.
The bank usually encourages people to use alternative banking channels such as debit cards, credit cards, the use of the ATM, and even online banking. How can customers be assured of the safety and security of doing business?
Yes, if you would allow me, I would weigh in on this one.
Thank you.
I agree with you that the convenience of these online services, the debit cards, the credit cards, has brought about a certain level of comfort for customers, ease of doing business, no doubt, and ease of transacting. However, we always like to remind customers that they have a responsibility in keeping their information secure. And by information, I mean things like usernames, password, your PINs. These things must be always kept secure. What you find globally is most, if not all, financial institutions have very secure computerized systems. But sometimes the lapses by customers in having their information shared or compromised is the beginning of problems for individual customers. So the bank has, over the last several weeks, decided, hey, let us do a public service. Let us increase customer awareness. Remind them, your PIN for your debit card or your credit card must be kept private, like any other one. Your password, your username for any system that you use on the internet, those are yours. Do not go, for example, sharing it with people that you do not know, either on the telephone or online by clicking on certain links that might be out there. So basically, I'm saying cyber security, as we call it, is extremely important and rests heavily on the customer keeping the information to themselves and not sharing it or giving it out to anyone directly by telephone inquiry, people that you don't know are not representative of your financial institution, or through going and submit the information to people who would have lured you into making such submission. And these are global practices that we want people on the island to continue to cultivate and to practice.
Thank you, Mr. Duncan. Are there any follow-up questions to those asked to from the media? Okay.
But if there are no more, can I steal half a minute to add to the chairman's remarks, deposit interest rates? Deposits are not the only way to get a return on your money. So we want to encourage people to call the bank, ask for the brokerage and investment services unit, where they can get the opportunity to invest in other instruments such as shares in this bank or any of the other 10 or 12 companies that are listed on the exchange, whether they be banks, hardware conglomerates, whether they be utility companies, as the case may be. So we really want to encourage people to not keep all your monies in low interest bearing savings account or zero interest bearing savings account, but try to diversify into other financial instruments which we can facilitate.
I wanted to know, is there a threshold for the amount of money you would have to in order to invest in those instruments that you're referring to? And are people really taking that opportunity?
The minimum amount to invest on the Eastern Caribbean Securities Exchange for the treasury bills, bonds, and those types of instruments, debt instruments, would be 5,000 EC dollars. But when it comes to shares, equity instruments on the market, it's open to all. And normally, I mean, they are within reasonable ranges for the public. So you can just come to the brokerage and investment services unit, and they can guide and provide information as to, well, help customers discover their investment objectives firstly, understand their risk appetite, and then make a recommendation as to what's best to get into.
And in response to whether or not people are taking up the opportunity, I'll just tell a little tale where I customarily, several years ago, went to the fish market to purchase, good quality protein. And get to know a particular fish vendor and so forth. And there was a year when the Securities Exchange sent down a list of shareholders to whom dividends had to be paid. I was shocked, right, of this name appearing on that list and quantum of shares. So there are people out there who have folks advising and helping them. And we are saying that if you have extra cash, some in savings, some in shares, some in bonds of some sort. Of course, a parcel of land with your house, that's part of your investment as well. But we really want to encourage Grenadians that as the growth in the economy occurs here as well as in the region, we should not just be reduced to savers and have other people who might be a little bit more sophisticated and educated capitalize on those gains through buying shares that are rising in value and paying good dividends into the future. So that's our message, to broaden the investor class on the island. Yeah.
I just want to add one thing to that last question about, is there a lower limit that gives people more access? Just remember the history of the cooperative bank, and the reason it was started was to give everyone in Grenada and everyone at every level an opportunity to participate in the financial world. And you could start open an account with a penny. Don't forget that. The penny bank, that's how it got the name. And you could buy one share for $1. So when you look at the initial register of shareholders, you actually would find a few school children whose parents bought them one share for $1. And that psychology still stays with us. We want to make sure that everybody has access to finance.
Just one follow-up. And even if the 5,000 threshold for debt instruments may seem a bit high for some investors, we at the brokerage unit would still work with customers to put them on a path to getting to that level of investing as well. So it's not that you have to have $5,000 and that's it. We can work with customers to get them to that level as well from the unit.
Just to encourage the general public to know, go onto the Facebook page and look for our Buzz Tips, we call it, where our mascot, the bee, would give you some, easy to follow tips to ensure that you are smart and savvy in protecting your username, your password, and other information when using online and other electronic channels.
Okie dokie there. Congratulations to Richard and Darryl and everybody else down there at Co-op Bank. Congratulations. Folks, you noticed that we've been having some issues this morning. When I say we, I mean the global picture. Everything has been going out fine here. You know that when I have issues in here, I bitch about them. Okay, I make noise. But everything has worked fine here this morning. So the issue is what leaves here. After it leaves here, that's where the issue is, between outside there and Facebook. I noticed that we've been having a lot of interruptions on Facebook this morning, and some of you have been seeing it yet. I see that Margaret's having a great time in New York. She says her stream has been perfect. Well, Margaret, there have been a lot of interruptions. I know what the people are talking about, girl, and yeah, there's been a lot of it. By the way, there's a little comment here that I wanted to share with Richard and Darryl. John Crow Alexander says, like that paid attention to details in the setup for making this presentation. Looking good and sounding good is just as important. Yeah, Richard, they did a nice job of that. And I also want to salute not just Co-op Bank. They made a good choice. They obviously got Mikey Live, who streams. He does a lot of streaming, and they got Mikey to do that press conference for them, and it was very nicely handled. So congratulations to all of you. Pilgrims, time to go feed my face. You mind? No, of course not. Hello, Clive. I see that Clive Devers is with us out there. I'm not sure what part of the world he is now, but I'm assuming he's in Ajax, Ontario. Folks, time to pull the curtain down on today's edition of Sundays with George Grant. Parting word. Zephaniah, chapter 2, verse 3. Seek the Lord, all you humble of the land, you who do what he commands. Seek righteousness, seek humility. Perhaps you will be sheltered on the day of the Lord's anger. Good advice? Good advice. Zephaniah chapter 2, verse 3. On that note, my dear friends, thank you so much for joining us for today's edition of Sundays with George Grant, SWGG. And again, apologies for the hiccups, but something's happening out there with Facebook this morning. On that note, Georgie Porgy is going to say goodbye and extend an invitation to you to join us. Here's another note. Clive Devers, he says, good show. Facebook was okay here in Ajax. So I don't know. But obviously some people didn't have any difficulties. Well, join us tomorrow morning, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday morning, God willing, 9 o'clock. If you haven't done it, join us, because we have a blast every weekday morning. And that ain't all. Be sure to join us on Thursday nights. That's when all hell breaks loose. Make we chat with the usual suspects. Boy, oh boy. We've been having some really, really good shows. And I certainly hope you'll participate starting this coming Thursday. And for those of you who are interested in Grenada's laws, Ruggles-Ferguson, Monday afternoons, 5 o'clock. Law made simple. So, having said all of that, Georgie Porgy's going to hightail it out here. Let's see, any more? Mr. Grant, you have done a wonderful job today, as always. Thank you, Mr. Langine. I certainly appreciate having you in the audience. And we shall see thee tomorrow morning, by God's grace. Bye-bye.